Hello lovely students and welcome back to English with Lucy. I have the most epic video for you today. I am going to teach you over 600 words and phrases. This video is not about memorization, it's about absorbing these words slowly. Put this video on while you're doing something else, and then I want you to use this special free tool I've created for you. I have created a huge PDF book with all of the words and phrases I will teach you in this super long video. Listen to this video whilst you're doing something else, and then read through the PDF. See how much you've retained, how much you remember. The ebook contains all of the words and phrases from this video, along with some tips to help you memorize them and use them when the time is right. You can download this for free, and as an extra bonus, I will also give you a copy of my B1 to C1 ebook. So that's 2 free ebooks. To get them, all you have to do is click on the link in the description box, enter your name and your email address and choose your English level. Join my mailing list and the ebooks will arrive directly in your inbox. After that, you have joined my PDF club. You will automatically receive my free weekly PDFs alongside all of my news, course updates and offers. It's a free service and you can unsubscribe at any time with just one click. Before we start, I have one other thing that I know you will love, so I'm going to mention it. I have created an English vocabulary level test that you can take for free to pinpoint your level from A1 all the way to C2. You will be able to see which words you know and which words still trip you up. You know that phrasal verb. I will send you your results by email. There are no tricky questions, no long waiting for your results, just straightforward questions that will help you understand where you are with your vocabulary level. The link to take the vocabulary level test is in the description box as well. Okay, it's finally time to get stuck into it. In the first video, you are going to learn 18 phrases I use all the time on a daily basis. They are so common and versatile that I am sure you'll be able to put them to good use too. Today I've got a really useful video for you, full of English that I personally use every day. Now you're going to learn around 19 phrases that I and a lot of other people who speak English use on a daily basis. Let's get started with our phrases. While I like to imagine that I have a huge vocabulary and I use all kinds of interesting and beautiful phrases every day, the truth is that I repeat myself quite often from one day to the next. I cling on to words like a magnet and I use them again and again and again until people say, "Can you stop saying that, please?" Like most of you, I spend most days doing similar activities, working, eating, hanging out with friends. Hanging out with my pets actually. And I have a bank of phrases that I use every day without even thinking about them. And that's what I want to give you in this lesson, my bank. And I'm not talking about my money, I'm talking about my personal vocabulary bank. Learn these phrases and you'll be able to get through a lot of the day in an English speaking environment without having to think too hard about what you're saying. And that's what we want in life, to not think too hard. I'm going to start with some general phrases that I say anytime and any place. Number 1, what a shame. What a shame. What a shame. This is such a great response to something negative or unfortunate that happens or someone tells you about. It's better to use it for small inconveniences like, our favourite restaurant is booked up on our anniversary. What a shame. Or, Jean can't come tonight. She's busy. What a shame. Don't use this when someone tells you that their pet died or something more serious happened. I don't feel it's strong enough for that. Number 2, I haven't got a clue. I haven't a clue. I haven't got a clue. This phrase means, I really don't know. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this phrase with your boss or when something is very important because it can seem a bit too casual, like you don't care that you don't know. I haven't a clue. I haven't got a clue. We normally use got with haven't. I haven't got a pen. I haven't got time. But in this phrase, sometimes we go a bit more old-fashioned and say, I haven't a clue. I use I haven't got a clue with friends or family. Do you know where the binoculars are? I haven't got a clue, sorry. Okay, number 3, I use this all the time, to cut a long story short. To cut a long story short. I really do need to work on making my long stories shorter. I have the habit of starting a story with a lot of enthusiasm, especially in front of a group of people, and then I lose the plot. It doesn't go anywhere. I don't finish it, I just trail off. To cut a long story short, we use this phrase to say, I'm going to tell you the main point of the story. I'll cut out all the extras. I'm going to make this long story shorter by just telling you the essential information. We often say this when we realise that we've been waffling on for a while and we need to get to the point. To waffle, or here I used it in a phrasal verb, to waffle on, is to talk for a long time without saying anything really of value or anything really interesting. Sorry, I've been waffling on for hours. I've been waffling for hours. You add the preposition on to turn waffle into a phrasal verb, and it just adds emphasis. It implies that this is an ongoing action. I actually can't believe I've been waffling on about the phrase to waffle and to waffle on. That is just so explanatory. Let's go back to cut a long story short. Sometimes we preface this phrase with anyway, which is another word I use about 150 times a day. Anyway, to cut a long story short. I am sorry if I go on a bit. I just get really excited by words and phrases. I want you to know them all. Let's go to number 4, which is make up your mind. Make up your mind. This is the last general one, and it means decide or make a decision. We tend to use this phrase when we're a bit frustrated because someone can't or won't decide. I say it to my dog Diego when he's standing in the doorway wondering whether to go outside or not, letting in lots of cold air and lots of leaves. Make up your mind, Diego. Make a decision. Okay, so those are my general phrases. Now I'm going to move through my work day from morning to evening. So let's get cracking. Let's get on with it. I'm starting in the morning, but I only have 3 phrases to put here because I don't talk a lot in the morning. However, if I am saying anything at 7 a.m, these are the ones I'd use. Mind if I grab the last. Mind if I'd grab the last. Mind if I grab the last piece of toast, bagel, tea bag. This is a way to ask if you can eat or use or take the last of something. It's a question I ask my husband or he asks me several times a day. Notice how we omit do you from the beginning of the question. This is called ellipsis and it's really common in informal questions. Mind if I grab the last? Number 6, I use this a lot. I've got to dash, or just for short, gotta dash, gotta dash. This means I have to leave quickly, normally because I'm late. You can use it at any time of the day, but I often say it in the mornings because that's usually when I'm in a hurry. Number 7, another similar one, let's get a move on, or let's get going. This is a phrase we often say when we really want to leave or we need to leave with someone else. It means, come on, we need to go. Let's get going, let's get a move on. It's quite colloquial, quite casual, informal, and it's not rude, but it also isn't polite. I feel annoyed when Will says it to me. If he says, let's get a move on, he's implying that I'm being slow or I'm going to be late. And I know I'm slow. I know I'm going to be late. You don't have to tell me. Because of that, use it with your friends and family, but don't use it with your boss. Let's move on to some things that I say every day during my work day. Let's get cracking. I said that one at the beginning. Do you remember? It means let's begin. I love using this phrase because it's more interesting than just saying, let's start. Let's get cracking. Let's get on with it. Number 9, I really do say this a lot. I've got back-to-back meetings today. Back-to-back meetings. If I'm not filming a video, which is my favourite part of the job, I'm probably in a meeting. And because Will and I work from home and work together and our entire team is remote, I have a lot of Zoom meetings. If my meetings are back to back, it means I have one meeting after another with no breaks. You could use it with any task you need to do one after another. Back-to-back presentations, back-to-back classes, back-to-back filming. Maybe you've got back-to-back social occasions over the holiday period. Number 10, I'm up to my ears. I'm up to my ears, and this one is related to the previous phrase. It means I'm very busy. I'm up to my ears is short for I'm up to my ears in work. I might use it in texts. If someone invites me out, I'll say, I'm so sorry, I can't come out tonight. I'm up to my ears. Number 11, I'm going to power through. I'm going to power through. This is a phrase I say when I'm going to work until I have finished. We often say this when we're tired or if the task is particularly difficult. You can also say power on through. Now, I absolutely love filming and making videos, but I have a 6 video limit. You know that I post 1 YouTube video a week, but I've been working really hard behind the scenes to film a lot of videos for my courses. And when I get to that 6th video, because after then my tongue doesn't work properly, but I don't realise, so I waste a lot of time filming videos that cannot be used and have to be refilmed. When I get to that 6th video, I tell myself, I just need to power through this one and then I can take a break. Number 12 is give me a minute. Give me a minute. When someone needs me, I often want to finish what I'm working on. And when I'm speaking quickly, give me becomes gimme. Give me a minute, I'm just finishing something. I don't know about you, but I find it quite hard to focus at the best of times. So if someone takes my focus away, it takes me another 20 minutes to get focused again. So sometimes I'm trying to hold on to my focus and say, give me a minute, I'm just focusing on something, I'll get to you afterwards. Number 13. I need to clear my head. I need to clear my head. I use this phrase to say that I need to take a break or do a different activity for a while, usually because I'm feeling stressed or confused. If I've had back-to-back meetings or filming, I often need a bit of fresh air to clear my head. And number 14, the final daytime phrase, I could do with a little pick-me-up. I could do with a little pick-me-up. I use this once a day, normally at around 4 p.m. Can you relate? Super healthy all day, nourishing meals, and then at 4 p.m. I'm like, I need chocolate or crisps. I don't mind which, I just need something. I really have to fight those 4 p.m. cravings. Often at 4 p.m. I have a little energy dip. I'm sure it's something biological. It's probably a dip in blood sugar or something, and I need a little pick-me-up to boost my energy, a drink or a snack. I often have some coffee or a cereal bar in the afternoon. In American English, people often say, I could use a little pick-me-up. Let's move on to the evening. At last, the day is coming to an end. Here are some things I say every evening. 15, I'm just wrapping up for the day. This one means I am finishing my work or finishing my tasks for the day, wrapping everything up, making sure everything is finished so I can leave work and not think about work anymore. 16, next round's on me. Next round's on me. When I lived in London, it was very common to go for after-work drinks at the pub. This phrase means I will buy the next set of drinks for our group. I've talked a bit about rounds before in my videos. It's very common in the UK, Ireland, Australia, and some other English-speaking countries for people in a group to take turns buying drinks for everyone. So if you're in a group of 4, you buy the first round of 4 drinks, then the next person buys the second round, and so on and so on. Be careful when you get into a round of drinks with a big group of people, because you might end up buying 8 drinks and maybe even drinking 8 drinks, which is not a good idea, and I don't encourage that. I also said on me. The next round's on me. That means I'm buying it. This one's on me. I'm paying for this one. Dinner's on us. We're paying for dinner. Number 17, peckish. I'm a bit peckish after the pub or at dinner time. We need to eat something. This means I'm hungry, not super hungry. I don't want a full meal, but I could eat. I could eat. My husband always says that. When I'm distributing the food I have cooked for our evening meal together, I say, how hungry are you? Wanting to know how much food do I put on your plate? And he always says, I could eat. I'm like, well, that doesn't give me any indication as to how much food I should put on your plate. I'm sorry, you don't need to know this. Let's move on to number 18. fancy a nightcap. I always fancy a nightcap, but I try not to have nightcaps. This one is about alcohol. It means, do you want one last drink before you go to bed? It's usually alcohol, but it can actually refer to any drink, hot cocoa, tea, herbal tea. They could all be nightcaps, but most English speakers will think that you're offering them an alcoholic drink like a whiskey or a brandy or something like that. And number 19, the last one, I'm going to turn in. I'm gonna turn in. Going to, informal contraction, gonna. This phrase means I'm going to bed. And that's exactly how I end my day. Oh, actually, I have a bonus phrase for you because it slipped my mind. No, that's it. That's the phrase. It slipped my mind. This means I forgot, but it's a nicer, softer way of saying it. I'm so sorry about forgetting your birthday. It totally slipped my mind. Or it slipped my mind to post that letter yesterday. It means I really wanted to, I tried to remember, but it just disappeared from my mind. It wasn't my fault. I say this all the time, all day, every day. I've just got a lot going on. Okay, which of those phrases do you think you'll use the most? Make up your mind, let me know in the comments. Are you ready to give your fluency another boost? In the next part of the lesson, I've got 25 phrases guaranteed to help you sound more natural when chatting to friends, acquaintances, colleagues, and even strangers. Let's get started. I'm going to bring you 25 sentences for daily conversational use. When we have conversations, we often use the same sentences again and again and again. So I've got some alternatives for you, some new smart sentences that you may not have heard before, but they're definitely ones that we use a lot, especially in the UK and around the rest of the world as well. First, let's discuss phrases we can use when we meet someone that we either do or do not know. These are different situations. The first phrase is, nice to bump into you. It's nice to bump into you. Now, you would use this phrase if you are at the very least familiar with them. So maybe you know of them. To know of someone is to have heard about them, to know their name. If you have seen someone recently, you can say, nice to bump into you again. Now, the literal meaning of to bump into someone is to collide with someone. For example, I bumped into someone at the supermarket and dropped my milk, for example. However, in this context, the context of meeting someone, to bump into someone means to meet someone unexpectedly. For example, I might say, I bumped into your mum at the swimming pool, meaning I unexpectedly met your mum. Now the next one, number 2, is a phrase that we use if we don't know someone, we haven't met them before, but we have maybe heard of them before, or we have communicated with them digitally. Maybe we've been talking over email or something like that. It's great to finally meet you in person. It's great to finally meet you in person. I say this so much after the pandemic. I met so many people online, over Zoom, and now I can finally meet them in real life. So I say, it's so nice to finally meet you in person. Number 3 is speak of the devil. Speak of the devil. And this has a very specific usage. This is said when a person appears just after being mentioned. For example, if I'm talking to a colleague about someone's excellent presentation and then that person appears, I could say, speak of the devil, we were just talking about your excellent presentation. This can be a great way to make someone new feel included, especially if you have been complimenting them behind their back. Number 4, another one to use if you haven't met someone before but you want to pay them a nice compliment, you can say, I've heard so much about you. I've heard so much about you. Obviously, only say this if you actually have heard good things said about this person. A really good response to this is, all good things, I hope, or all positive, I hope. And the last one, number 5, this is a nice way of saying, I don't know who you are, so please introduce yourself to me. Avoids an awkward situation. It is, I don't think we've crossed paths before. I don't think we've crossed paths before. To cross paths with someone is to meet someone by chance. And if we haven't crossed paths before, well, we've never met. But I think it's a bit nicer than saying, who are you? I don't know who you are. I don't think we've crossed paths before. Okay, next section. Let's say for now that you've met someone that you do know, you're going to want to catch up with them. And to catch up with someone is to talk about everything that's happened since you last saw each other. So we have number 6, which is, how is everything going? How is everything going? And if you can't specifically remember what they've been doing, how is everything going is a great way to let them lead the conversation. It gives them room to open up. This might refer to their family, their work, their personal life, romantic life, who knows, but you can let them lead the conversation because they decide what everything is. We also have number 7, which is, what have you been up to? What have you been up to? And this is a really friendly phrase. If you are up to something, it means that you are doing something mischievous. You're doing something troublesome. But this phrase is very warm and friendly. It's saying, what trouble have you been causing? What have you been doing? It's something that we use a lot with children or animals. I often say to my dog, what have you been up to, Diego? Because I know he's been doing something mischievous. We use it with friends as well. It's very casual, so it's not appropriate for professional situations, but it is appropriate if you know the person quite well. A good response to what have you been up to is, not much, or I've not been up to much. We also have number 8, which is, what have I missed? What have I missed? Fill me in. So if you haven't caught up with someone for a while, this is a good way to ask them what has happened since you last spoke. To fill someone in is to give someone missing information or to inform someone more fully of a situation. So if I'm saying, fill me in, I'm saying, tell me all this missing information. Another good one is, we've got so much to catch up on. This means we've got so much to talk about. So much has happened since we last saw each other. Now, number 10 is one that you can use if you've seen or met someone that you know you need to spend a long talking to, but it's not the right time. It is, there's so much to say, but I can't go into it now. I can't go into it now. To go into something is to discuss or explain something in a careful and detailed way. And this implies that there are lots and lots of details, too many for now. Maybe it would be impolite to talk a lot. Maybe there are some people around that shouldn't hear what you're talking about. It's a good one to use, or a good one to have up your sleeve. And that means to have something ready for later. Right, so we've discussed talking to people that we have met before. Now, what should we do with people that we haven't met before? We should get to know them, shouldn't we? We should ask some good open-ended questions to get them talking. Often we want to ask people, how did you get your job? How did you end up working here? But that's not so polite. So a really good alternative is number 11, which is, how did you get into X? How did you get into marketing? How did you get into finance? To get into something in this context is to become involved with. How did you become involved with marketing? Then they can tell you their life story. Another nice way of getting to know someone is to ask them what they do for fun. And in American English especially, what do you do for fun is a very common question. I would say that it's not so common in the UK, but we do see it in movies and TV shows a lot. I just noticed this question asked to me a lot when I visited the US, and I thought it was really nice. It was a really good way of making conversation that isn't about work. So what do you do for fun? In British English, we might say something more like, what do you do outside of work? Or what do you do when you're not working? It's maybe a bit nicer than asking someone what they do for fun, because I know when someone asks me what I do for fun, I think, oh my word, I'm not that fun a person. I like running. Is running fun enough to answer this question? Do they think that running's fun enough? Yeah, so those other alternatives, what do you do when you're not working? What do you do outside of work? They're pretty safe. Another good thing to talk about is motivation, and we want to know what motivates people. But instead of just simply saying, what motivates you, you could say, what makes you tick? What really makes you tick? And this is sort of asking, what are you passionate about? What keeps you going? For example, helping my students gain confidence really makes me tick. Another similar one is, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What do you get up for? Or a really fun and cheeky one is, what floats your boat? That means, what brings you joy? That comes from the phrase, whatever floats your boat, whatever you like. This is something that we say when someone says they like something that we think is a bit strange. So for example, if someone says they like running marathons every weekend, I might say, whatever floats your boat. Not my thing, but good for you. The question, what floats your boat, is a variation of that. Now, when we meet people and we have a really, really good conversation, the next step is to ensure further contact, to create further contact. But we don't just want to say, what's your number? I would like to talk again. Although I quite like the direct approach. There are some other ways of doing this, like number 16. I'd love to carry this on at a later date. Or I'd love to carry this on at another time. And this is basically saying, I would like to continue this conversation. So you're sort of stopping them there, saying pause, but let's continue this later on. Another good one to use if you can see that a conversation is coming to an end, maybe it's like a break in a conference and you know that the next lecture is starting, but you still want to make sure that you remain in contact with this person. You could say something like, I feel we've got so much more to talk about. I feel we've got so much more to talk about. And this one is really nice because it's sort of passing the baton. It's passing the responsibility over to the other person, and it gives them the opportunity to say, well, let's stay in touch. Let's exchange contact details. It's good to use if you don't know if they want to stay in touch, if you're kind of testing the water. If they say, yeah, let's stay in touch, brilliant. If they don't, well, there we are. At least we know. The next one, number 18, is to discuss something over a consumable, a food or a beverage. For example, we should discuss this over lunch, or we should chat over coffee. We should talk over dinner. If you think about it, using the word over is quite appropriate because normally two people having a meeting at dinner are speaking over the top of the food. The conversation flows over the food or drink. Another very simple, very casual one is number 19. We should do this again. We should do this again. It's implying we should see each other again. And the last one, number 20, if you want to be very direct and give your contact details, you can say, here's my email, here's my number, drop me a line and we'll sort something out. To drop someone a line is to write a brief message. So it could be a text, a WhatsApp, an email. We can also say, drop me a text or drop me a WhatsApp. To sort something out is to organize something. We'll arrange another meeting. And the last set of phrases, and for me, the hardest part of any conversation is leaving the conversation. I'm terrible at parties. I end up talking to one person intensely for the whole event, and then it comes to the end and I think, ugh, I have not met many people here. It's just so awkward, isn't it? If you don't have much time, you can use 21, which is, oh, I'm a bit pressed for time. I'm a bit pressed for time. And this is a nice way of saying, I don't have any time, I need to go. Or number 22, right, I need to make a move. And in the UK, we always sort of clap our hands together, or if we're sitting down, we slap our thighs and say, right, I've got to be going. To make a move is to begin to leave or to leave. I'm going to make a move, I'm going to leave. It's a nicer way of saying it because we're beating around the bush, we're avoiding the topic. I don't want to say I'm leaving, so I'm going to say I'm making a move. Another similar one is I'm going to have to get going. I'm going to have to get going, or I need to get going. Again, this is to begin to leave. But by saying I have to, it's implying that you don't want to, I just have to. I'm obliged to leave. It's not my choice. I need to. Now, a really nice one. It's interesting, but ever so slightly manipulative, but I learnt it from someone that I really respect, an older woman in my village. I always enjoy talking to her at parties in our village, but I probably enjoy speaking to her more than she enjoys speaking with me. And once she said this wonderful thing when she wanted to leave our conversation, but she did it in such a nice way. She said, I don't want to hog you, so I'm going to go over here. And I felt like, oh, she doesn't want to hog me. To hog something is to take or use something good all for yourself so that other people can't have it. And she was saying, I don't want to keep you all to myself, so I'm going to make sure other people can talk to you too. And it's implying that whoever you're talking to is so great that they need to talk to lots of people. Lots of people can benefit from talking to them. It wouldn't be right to deny others the chance of talking to this person. I thought it was really interesting, kind of like reverse psychology. Instead of making me feel abandoned, it made me feel flattered. Oh, I'm so weak. Okay, and the last one, number 25. I've already taken so much of your time. I've already taken so much of your time. That's a lovely way of saying, you know, I don't want to leave, but I've wasted your time, so I'm going to go because it's fair on you. Okay, those are your 25 smart sentences for daily conversation. Really good if you're going to a new place, you're going to meet lots of new people, or you're going to see lots of people that you haven't seen in a while. It's also great for networking if you're going to have lots of conversations and leave conversations frequently. Okay, in this next part of the lesson, I have compiled 100 of the most common English words. It is a long one, so make sure you're sitting comfortably or doing something else. It's going to help you with your pronunciation too. I want you to guess, how many words do you think there are in the English language? Don't Google it. I will tell you the answer. Well, there have been various studies, and some of them say that there are over 170,000 words in the English language. That's a lot of words. But on average, a native English speaker will know between 15 and 20,000 words. This is an insane amount of words. I can't even count to 20,000. But don't despair. It is claimed that the top 100 words in English make up 50% of the language. Today, I thought it would be an excellent idea to help you to perfect those top 100 words in English. I'll break this down into the different parts of speech. I'll show you how to spell the words, how to pronounce them in both their weak form and their strong form. I'll also give you an example with the word in use. Let's get started with the first section of this video. It's all about nouns. A noun is a word that refers to a place, a person, an idea, a thing, a quality, or an activity. Let's take a look at 10 of the most common nouns in the English language, and most importantly, their pronunciation. First, we have man. Man. The man sat quietly on the chair. Day. Day. It was the last day of summer. People. People. Many people travel abroad for their holiday. Time. Time. What time will they come to the house today? Woman. Woman. He saw the woman from across the room. Life. Life. Jack spent his whole life writing his novel. World. World. The world is a big place. Go out and see it. Thing. Thing. We've both brought the same thing. Year. Year. This year has been the craziest yet. Child. Child. She was only a child, but she could play the piano better than anyone. Now let's move on to pronouns. A pronoun can substitute a noun or a noun phrase in a sentence. We can only use a pronoun if the noun or noun phrase has been referred to previously. We have 20 to look at today, and they include both strong and weak forms. He or he. He or he. He likes to go out ice skating. Her or her. Her or her. Her shoes were left out in the rain all night. Him or im. Him or im. Can you take him to the station, please? I am from England. It. It looks as if she's been crying. Me or me. Me or me. Don't give me that look. My new phone should arrive today. Our or our. Our or our. Our new home is in the village not far from here. She or she. She or she. She is from a posh family. What do you expect? Them or them. Them or them. I went with them to see the play. That or that. That or that. That picture frame is crooked. There. There. Their payments are overdue. These. These. These flowers are beautiful. They. They. They missed the train, so they walked home instead. This. This. This is the road I used to take to school as a child. Us or us. Us or us. We always bring a few snacks with us. We or we. We or we. We had just started hiking when Jerry hurt his knee. Who? Who? Who was that in your office? You or ya? You or ya? You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. Your or ya? Your or ya? Your sister came over yesterday looking for you. Now let's move on to verbs. Every sentence needs a verb and we use them to represent actions, feelings or states of being. Come. Come. Come to my house tonight. We're making pizza. Find. Find. I can't find the remote control. Give. Give. Can you give me a minute? Get. Get. I hope I get a raise this month. Go. Go. Sheila, go and speak with your father. Have or have. Have or have. I have the forms in my bag. No. No. I know this can't be easy to hear. Listen. Listen. Listen to his new song. It's great. Look. Look. They will look at the sculpture for hours. Make. Make. What are you going to make for the school picnic? Say. Say. Don't say things that you don't mean. See. See. I could see she was angry from her facial expression. Tell. Tell. Tell him about it after his birthday. Think. Think. I always think about leaving my job. Use. Use. Can I use baking powder instead of baking soda? Want. Want. They want to take a cruise this year. Now let's move on to auxiliary verbs. These are incredibly useful in English. They're also referred to as helping verbs or modal verbs. They help to form certain verb tenses, voices, and moods. Let's take a look at them. Be or be. Be or be. I'll be swimming tomorrow morning. Can or can. Can or can. Can you lift the chair up so I can sweep under it? Could or could. Could or could. I could leave work early to pick up the wine. Do or duh. Do or duh. Do they always come this late? Shall or shall. Shall or shall. I shall ask him tomorrow. Might. Might. They might stay a little longer. Must or must. Must or must. You must allow me to take you for dinner. Should or should. Should or should. I should really be going now. Would or would. Would or would. I would like a skateboard for Christmas. Will or will. Will or will. We will write to you as soon as we arrive. Next, we're going to look at some adjectives, some very common adjectives. Adjectives are used to describe nouns and they provide more detail. All. All. Did you put all of the food away? Any. Any. I don't have any patience for you right now. Different. Different. Can you get me a different mug? Even. Even. He wants the painting to be even on the wall. First. First. Ben was the first person to call me after my breakup. Just. Just. It wasn't just of him to treat you that way. Last. Last. This is my last phone call. White. White. When I opened my eyes, I saw white walls. Many. Many. We have too many boxes to move. More. More. Please could I have more potatoes? New. New. Her new shoes are black. One. One. My dog has one blue eye and the other is brown. Some or some. Some or some. Please could I borrow some money? Two. Two. The 2 trees in the garden need to be chopped down. Now we're moving on to adverbs. These are words that help you to describe an adjective, a verb, another adverb, or even an entire sentence. You may have learnt that most adverbs end in ly. And this is true, but you will be surprised at some of the most common ones. Let's take a look. Also. Also. We also live up the hill. Here. Here. I live here too. How. How. He didn't know how to speak Italian. No. No. Call no later than 7 p.m. Not. Not. It is not snowing today. So. So. She was so early for the party. Then. Then. We can't go back to how it was then. Very. Very. Dave was very angry after the meeting. When. When. When will you be leaving? Now we have some conjunctions, and these are really key. They allow us to join multiple phrases and sentences together. Without conjunctions, reading would be really boring. Let's get started. And or and. And or and. Clean your room and the bathroom. Because or because. Because or because. I can't come tonight because I have work in the morning. But or but. But or but. They don't have a size 3, but they do have a size 4. If. If. She will cover for me if I stay late tomorrow. Or. Or. We can get Chinese or Indian food. It's up to you. Than or than. Than or than. I'd rather stay at home than go to a nightclub. Next we have prepositions. These are really important. They show you how one part of a sentence is related to another. About. About. I'll be there in about 5 minutes. At or at. At or at. Turn right at the end of the street. By. By. My purse is by the dining room chair. For or f. For or f. Is all of that for you? From or from. From or from. That present is from all of us. In. In. Just put it in the box. Into or inter. Into or inter. Put it into the fridge, not the oven. On. On. The book is on the shelf. To or t. To or t. We're going to the fair today. With. with. Don't leave me with him. Finally, we have articles. There are only 3 in English, so I bet you can guess which ones I've included. We have a or a. A or a. A man came to see you today. We have an or an. An or an. Is that an orange on the sofa? And finally, number 100, we have the or the. The or the. The new table looks wonderful. Right, there you have it, 100 of the most common words in the English language, the words that comprise the majority of spoken and written English. So how did you do? Why not try writing your own example sentence for the words that were less familiar to you? Okay, it's time to get serious now. One trick that is great for supercharging your vocabulary is to learn antonyms or opposites when you learn a new word. With this in mind, this next lesson has more than 100 words and their opposites. And the best thing, I've arranged them all from B1 to C1 so you can get a good idea of how wide your vocabulary knowledge is. Remember, if you download the PDF for this lesson, I will give you my B1 to C1 ebook too. That will give you even more of an idea on how to reach the next level of English. Let's get started. Today's lesson is going to be absolutely dreadful. Actually, I meant to say the opposite of that word, which is exactly what we're talking about today. Antonyms. Perhaps antonym is a new word for you, so let me quickly explain. An antonym is a word that has the opposite meaning to another word. Think happy and sad. This is opposed to synonym, which is a word that has the same meaning as another word. If you've ever found yourself searching for the perfect word to express the opposite of what you're feeling, you're in the right place. Learning antonyms is also a really cool way to double your vocabulary. I'm going to teach you really beautiful words at B1 level, then we'll move to B2, and then finally C1, advanced. And I'm going to teach you the opposite of those words as well, the antonyms. The lesson gets harder and harder as we go along. Let's see how far you can get. I'm going to give you an adjective, and then I'm going to tell you its antonym or antonyms, plural, because many words have more than one antonym. Do keep in mind that some of the antonyms I give you might be more advanced than the adjective I give you. I've also tried to weave in some mini stories so you can see how these opposite words work together. See if you notice those. First up, B1 level. Number 1, grateful. Grateful. This is feeling or showing thanks. Molly was extremely grateful when Tim helped her move house. Our first antonym, unappreciative. Unappreciative. Not feeling or showing thanks. Tim felt Molly was unappreciative when she forgot to thank him for his hard work. 2, amazed. Amazed. Greatly surprised or impressed. June was amazed at the view from the mountaintop. Our antonym is unimpressed. Unimpressed. Martha was unimpressed by the view, claiming she had seen better. 3, cheerful. Cheerful. Happy and optimistic. My cousin is always cheerful in the mornings. Grumpy. Grumpy. This is bad-tempered and irritable. I, for one, am typically quite grumpy before I've had my coffee. Number 4, private. Private. This is intended for a particular personal group, not for people in general to know about. Lucille prefers to keep her life private. The opposite, public. Public. Known to everyone. Her uncle, Mark, on the other hand, is an open book and lives a very public life. 5, rough. Rough. Having an uneven surface. The road by our house was so rough that driving became a challenge. The opposite, smooth, evenly flat or level. Once the road was resurfaced, it became smooth, and now it's my favourite road to drive on. Doesn't everyone have a favourite road if they drive? 6, qualified. Qualified. Competent or knowledgeable to perform a job. Janet is highly qualified for her role in finance and feels confident at work. Incompetent. Incompetent. Not having the skills to do something well. But for many years, she was incompetent and often made many errors. We also have unfit. Unfit. This means not suitable or qualified. Her former boss thought she was unfit for her previous position, leading to her dismissal. 7. Fascinating. Fascinating. This means extremely interesting. Paul is an absolute history buff and finds all things history fascinating. Dull. Dull. Not interesting. Unfortunately, his daughter thinks his fun history facts are incredibly dull. 8. Shy. Shy. Nervous or timid in social situations. I've always been shy and prefer smaller gatherings. Outgoing. Outgoing. Sociable and eager to meet people. Unlike me, my sister is quite outgoing, making new friends wherever she is. 9. Basic. Basic. This means very simple. This recipe for banana bread is fairly basic, but delicious. Elaborate. Elaborate. Detailed and complicated. A more elaborate version of the recipe includes exotic spices. 10. Proud. Proud. Feeling deep pleasure or satisfaction as a result of achievements. Carla is proud of her accomplishments and doesn't forget to celebrate her small wins. Humble. Humble. Not having or showing feelings of superiority. In contrast, her colleague Ben is extremely humble and downplays his achievements to a fault, to his detriment. 11. Brave. Brave. Showing courage and fearlessness. It was very brave of you to stop that man from stealing my bag. On the other hand, we have cowardly. Cowardly. Lacking courage or resolution. His actions were those of a cowardly man, especially when he tried to deny the whole thing. 12. Generous. Generous. Willing to give more of something, especially money or time, than is strictly necessary or expected. My mum is very generous, always volunteering and donating to charity. Selfish. Selfish. Lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly, mainly, with one's own personal profit or pleasure. My father can be rather selfish and doesn't often think about others. By the way, that is not true. My father is not at all selfish. 13. Obvious. Obvious. Easily perceived or understood. I thought it was so obvious that Max was into you. To be into someone is to be interested romantically. On the other hand, we have unclear. Unclear. Not easy to understand, but after reading the messages he sent you, it's rather unclear. 14. Calm. Calm. This is feeling a sense of peace. Sophie remained calm during the heated debate, effortlessly making her points. Frenzied. Frenzied. Wildly excited or uncontrolled. In contrast, her opponent became frenzied, raising his voice and speaking rapidly. We also have agitated. Agitated, feeling or appearing troubled or nervous. Even after the debate ended, he still appeared agitated, unable to relax. 15. Standard. Standard. This is conforming to established norms. The doctor described the procedure as being quite standard and following all normal guidelines. Unconventional. Unconventional. Not based on what is generally done. However, he stated that there was a new approach that was unconventional, but more effective. 16. Tight. Tight. Firmly held in place. I made sure the knot on my son's shoe was tight and secure before he ran off to play. Loose. Loose. Not securely held in place. 30 minutes later, the knot became loose again and needed retying. 17. Confident. Confident. Certain of oneself or of an outcome. Roger was confident he would get the lead role in the Christmas pantomime. A pantomime is a show performed at Christmas time that often features celebrities, someone in drag. It's slapstick comedy for children, but there are hidden naughty jokes for the adults. On the other hand, we have uncertain. Uncertain, which means not sure. I was uncertain about his chances after seeing his dreadful audition. Okay. You've made it this far. Let's move on to more of a B2 level. We have number 18, aggressive, aggressive, confrontational and assertive. James's aggressive negotiating style often puts others off. Passive, passive, accepting without resistance. His colleague Brenda adopts a passive approach during business dealings, never voicing her ideas or concerns. 19, anxious. This means worried and tense. We all felt anxious about the coming exam, constantly reviewing our notes when we had downtime. Relaxed, free from tension and anxiety. But come exam day, we all felt shockingly relaxed because of our excessive studying. 20. Dishonest, not honest. My neighbour's children were decidedly dishonest when I questioned them about my broken window. Truthful, honest and straightforward. When their father got involved, the children suddenly became truthful, admitting that they had indeed broken the window while playing cricket in the garden. 21. Confusing. This is difficult to understand. The lecture was so confusing that even the brightest students were left scratching their heads. Straightforward. This means easy to understand. Luckily, the professor's clarifications were straightforward, instantly clearing up the confusion. 22. Dramatic. Striking or sensational in appearance or effect. The sunset was dramatic, painting the sky in vivid hues. Understated, appearing or expressed in a subtle way. The following morning had an understated beauty with soft light illuminating the horizon. We also have mundane, meaning ordinary and dull. My daily commute on the underground felt mundane compared to the spectacle of nature I'd witnessed. 23. Offensive. This means causing someone to feel hurt or upset. Carlo is a popular comedian whose jokes are so offensive that people often walk out of his shows. Inoffensive, not causing offense or harm. He decided to change his routine, and his opening act was surprisingly inoffensive, appealing to a broader audience. Pleasant, giving a sense of happy satisfaction. His entire set turned out to be quite pleasant. Desperate, feeling or showing a hopeless sense that a situation is so bad it's almost impossible to deal with. Out of work and low on funds, Joanne felt desperate. Hopeful, feeling or inspiring optimism about a future event. However, after a promising job interview, she became hopeful. 25. Steady. This is not moving or held firmly in place. The surgeon's steady hand was crucial during the delicate operation. Shaky. Not firm or securely fixed, likely to move or break. It can also mean physically trembling. The intern's shaky hand made everyone nervous. 26. Accurate. This is free from error, especially conforming to fact or truth. The journalist prided herself on providing accurate information. Incorrect. Not in accordance with fact or simply wrong. However, she published a rumour about a local politician that turned out to be incorrect, damaging her reputation. We also have erroneous. This comes from the word error. It means wrong or false. She had to issue an apology for publishing the erroneous article before checking all of the facts. 27. Optimistic. This means hopeful and confident about the future. Despite the setbacks, Rowan remained optimistic about the project's success. Pessimistic. Tending to see the worst aspect of things or believe the worst will happen. His team, however, were more pessimistic and started looking for other opportunities. We also have negative. Not hopeful or enthusiastic, expecting the worst. The negative atmosphere became a self-fulfilling prophecy, causing the project to fail. 28. Modest. Not having or showing a high opinion of your own importance. Despite her achievements, our CEO remained modest about all her talents. Arrogant. Having an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. Our CFO, however, could definitely be described as arrogant, often dismissing others' contributions. We also have pretentious, attempting to impress by affecting greater importance or merit than is actually possessed. His pretentious demeanour was off-putting, leading people to favour Emily's modest approach. 29. Temporary. Lasting for only a limited period of time, not permanent. Their housing arrangement was only temporary until she found something more stable. Permanent. Lasting or intended to last indefinitely. They eventually found a permanent home where they felt secure and settled. We also have enduring, lasting over a long period, or durable. Their enduring friendship with her neighbours made the new place feel like home. 30. Sincere. This means free from pretense or deceit. Genuine. Our new manager is sincere and very straightforward with his expectations. Disingenuous. Lacking in sincerity or honesty. Our former boss was ultimately held accountable for his disingenuous actions. Okay, well done for making it this far. We are 60% of the way through and we are ready to move on to more of a C1 level of vocabulary. Let's start with 31, skeptical. Doubting or questioning. Anne was skeptical about the so-called miracle diet Martina had recommended. Credulous. Ready to believe, especially with little evidence. Martina was known to be credulous, buying into every health fad she heard about. We also have trusting. Willing to trust without suspicion. Anne is very trusting of her friend, but she does her own research before believing anything. 32. Hasty. Done or acting with excessive speed or urgency. Patricia is always hasty when she orders food. She just gets the first item on the menu. Deliberate. Done consciously and intentionally. Her friend Anna liked to take her time and make a deliberate choice after considering all the options. We also have cautious. Careful to avoid potential problems or dangers. Paul was more cautious and decided to consult the waiter before ordering anything. 33. Resilient. Able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. Despite losing her job, Emily remained resilient and started her own business. Vulnerable. Susceptible to physical or emotional harm. Her partner, Richard, was emotionally vulnerable and found it hard to adjust to the new challenges. 34. Candid. Truthful and straightforward. I try to be candid with all of my clients so they know exactly what to expect from our products. Deceptive. Giving an appearance or impression different from the true one. Unfortunately, my boss prefers a more deceptive approach in order to boost sales. 35. Infallible. Incapable of making mistakes or being wrong. Sue believed her strategy was infallible and would guarantee success. Unreliable. Not able to be relied upon. Steve, however, was rather unreliable, missing key deadlines that put the plan at risk. We also have imperfect. Not perfect. Faulty or incomplete. The strategy itself turned out to be imperfect once Sue realized she was missing several key components. 36. Coherent. Logical and consistent. Jane's argument was coherent and persuasive, winning over the audience. Disjointed. Lacking a coherent sequence or connection. Her opponent's rebuttal was disjointed and failed to counter her points effectively. 37. Tangible. Able to be clearly seen to exist or physically felt. The tangible benefits of the new policy were felt immediately with increased wages and improved working conditions. Abstract. Existing in thought or as an idea, but not having a physical or concrete existence. However, its abstract goals, like employee satisfaction, were harder to measure. 38. Erratic. Not even or regular in pattern or movement. Mike's erratic behaviour made it difficult to anticipate his next move. Consistent. Unchanging in nature, standard, or effect over time. His wife, however, was consistent and always followed the same daily routine. We also have predictable. Able to be predicted. You know in advance that it will happen and what it will be like. Not surprisingly, her predictable schedule made it easier for everyone to coordinate with her. 39. Profound. Very great or intense. Having deep insight or understanding. Megan's presentation had a profound impact on how her community viewed recycling. Shallow. Lacking depth of intellect, emotion, or knowledge. She took on many of the shallow arguments made against her stance. We also have superficial. Existing or occurring at or on the surface. Luckily, most of the community agreed that the counter-arguments were just superficial. 40. Robust. Strong, healthy, vigorous. Despite his advanced age, Graham remains robust, walking 3 miles every day. Feeble, feeble, lacking physical strength, especially as a result of age or illness. He always feared becoming a feeble old man, but he's not slowing down yet. 41. Minimal, minimal, of a minimum amount, quantity or degree. The damage was minimal, thanks to the quick response of emergency services. Extensive, extensive, covering or affecting a large area. The neighbouring city wasn't so lucky and suffered extensive damage from the storm. We also have abundant, abundant, existing or available in large quantities, and this is typically more positive. Luckily, abundant help was available as the community pulled together to assist in the cleanup. 42. Absurd, absurd, wildly unreasonable, illogical, or inappropriate. It seemed absurd that someone would abandon their brand new phone on the bus. Logical, logical, of or according to the rules of logic or formal argument. On second thoughts, it is logical to assume that someone had simply lost it. We also have sensible, sensible, able to make good judgments based on wisdom. However, any sensible person would have checked their pockets before getting off the bus. 43. Cooperative, cooperative, involving mutual assistance in working towards a common goal. The team was cooperative and completed the project ahead of schedule. Obstructive, obstructive, causing or tending to cause difficulties and delays. One team member seemed to be deliberately obstructive, constantly throwing up barriers to progress. 44. Eager, eager, wanting to do or have something very much. Ben was eager to start his new job and make a good impression. Apathetic, apathetic, showing or feeling no interest, enthusiasm, or concern. His co-workers appeared to be quite apathetic and didn't share his enthusiasm. We also have indifferent, indifferent, having no particular interest or sympathy, unconcerned. They just went about their business, indifferent to the fact that Ben was even there. 45. Overwhelming, overwhelming, very great in amount, or overpowering. The first week at university was overwhelming for Leon, with so many new experiences and challenges. Manageable, manageable, able to be managed, controlled, or accomplished without great difficulty. However, after settling in, he found the coursework to be quite manageable. 46. Trivial, trivial, of little value or importance. Many thought the debate was focused on trivial matters that diverted attention from real issues. Significant, significant, important. In contrast, the subsequent discussion addressed significant topics that mattered to the community. And our last one, 47, persistent, persistent, continuing firmly or obstinately in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. Though Raoul and his kids had never built a treehouse, they remained persistent in their efforts. Inconsistent, inconsistent, not staying the same throughout. Unsurprisingly, his kids' dedication to getting the project done was inconsistent. And another antonym, sporadic, sporadic, I love this one, occurring at irregular intervals. Their sporadic bursts of energy and interest in everything other than the treehouse meant that Raoul was alone to finish the task. So there you have it. There were your antonyms. That is a lot of new information. Okay, we've already covered around 250 words and phrases. I think you need a cup of tea and a biscuit before we move on to look at 50 incredibly useful phrasal verbs. They really are one of the most effective ways to sound more natural when communicating in English. This video is a bit different. You're going to learn all of these phrasal verbs through a story, so it's time to sit back and relax a little. We are going to learn 50 of the most useful phrasal verbs in context through a story, so they really get stuck in your brain for life. But I'm not just going to sit here, read a list of phrasal verbs, give you an example, blah, blah, blah. I want this one to be a bit more exciting, so I've gone ahead and created 5 short stories that use all of these phrasal verbs so that you can learn each one in context and not be bored to tears. Don't worry, I'll still make time to give you their meanings and all of that fun stuff. Okay, let's get started with the first short story of the day. Way back in my uni days, my best friend Emily started her first job as a waiter in a bustling cafe. Nervous but determined, she decided to look up some tips while sitting on the bus to work. Just as she was starting to relax, the bus suddenly broke down. She quickly got off the bus and shot off on foot. Her new colleague, Sarah, helped her calm down and get on with her duties. Emily came across challenging customer after challenging customer, but she managed to keep her cool. Sarah's guidance was invaluable as she continued to look after Emily throughout her shift. During the busy lunch rush, Emily knocked over a tray of glasses onto her phone. Her phone went black and wouldn't turn on. As the day came to an end, Emily felt a sense of relief. What a day. Okay, we have our first 10 phrasal verbs here. The first one is to look up. To look up, and this is to search for information or advice. She looked up the recipe online before attempting to bake the cake. Number 2 is to break down. To break down, and this is to stop functioning or to fail suddenly. Unfortunately, my car broke down on my way out of town. Number 3 is to get off. To get off, and this is to leave or exit from a vehicle or transportation. We say to get off if you leave walking, and we say to get out if you have to climb out. So you get off a bus, a plane, a tram. You get out of a car or taxi. Number 4 is to shoot off. To shoot off, and this is to move quickly or suddenly. As soon as the bell rang, the children shot off towards the playground. Number 5 is to calm down. To calm down. This is to become less anxious or agitated. I always try to take a deep breath to calm down before giving a presentation. Number 6 is to get on with something. To get on with something. Someone is different. But to get on with something is to continue with a task or activity, especially after an interruption. Right, that's enough TV. Time to get on with your homework. Number 7 is to come across. To come across. And this is to encounter or find a person or thing unexpectedly. You won't believe who I came across at the bookshop today. Number 8 is to look after. To look after. This is to take care of or to provide assistance to someone. Jane will look after the children while we're at dinner. Number 9, to knock over. To knock over, this is to accidentally cause something to fall or tip over. The strong wind knocked over many of the newly planted trees in the park. And number 10, our last for this story, to turn on. To turn on, this is to activate or start a device or appliance. Can you turn on the heater? It's freezing in here. Okay, that's 10 phrasal verbs down. Let's learn a few more with our next story. Now I want to tell you about the time my cousin, Arthur, decided to set up a charming little tea shop in our hometown. He was known for whipping up tasty scones and aromatic brews. However, when he applied for a loan, the bank manager turned him down, believing his venture wouldn't work out. Despite this minor setback, Arthur refused to give up on his dream. Focused on proving them wrong, he took on the challenge of transforming our grandmother's dilapidated cottage into a delightful tea room. He dusted off some old family recipes, figured out the perfect blend of teas, and even caught up on the latest baking trends. As the grand opening day approached, villagers started to queue outside his tea room, eager to taste his treats. Arthur had truly turned the tables on his doubters. His tea room became a thriving success, and even the bank manager had to eat humble pie when he came to enjoy a cuppa. Arthur never missed the chance to offer his doubters a treat when they came by, as opposed to telling them off. He made sure not to faff about when it came to achieving his dreams. Oh, we have fantastic phrasal verbs in there. Let's start with number 11, to set up. To set up. This is to establish or create something, like a business or organisation. Sarah decided to set up a charity to help underprivileged children in her community. Number 12, to whip up. To whip up. This is to quickly and skillfully prepare something, usually food. My mum used to whip up the most delicious pasta in just a few minutes. 13, to turn down. To turn down. This is to reject an offer, request, or opportunity. Unfortunately, we've had to turn down several incredible job applicants due to budget constraints. Number 14, to work out. To work out. This is to have a positive outcome. I haven't found a publisher for my book yet, but I'm sure it'll all work out. 15, to give up. To give up. This is to quit or stop trying, usually due to difficulties or challenges. After hours of trying to solve the puzzle, she finally gave up. Number 16 is to take on. To take on. This is to accept a responsibility or challenge. Mark was eager to prove himself to the higher-ups and quickly agreed to take on the team leader role. 17 is to dust off. To dust off. This is to revive or reuse something neglected or forgotten. Ali decided it was time to dust off the guitar he bought as a teenager and learn to play once and for all. 18, to figure out. To figure out. This is to find a solution to a problem or discover a way to do something. He read the instructions several times, but still couldn't figure out how to assemble the bookshelf. Number 19 is to catch up. To catch up. This is to get up to date or reach the same level as others. After missing a few classes, Lisa needed to catch up on her coursework. Number 20, to tell off. To tell off. This is to scold or reprimand someone for their behaviour or actions. We sat in silence as Miss Langford told Rachel off for being 10 minutes late to class. And number 21, my favourite in the list, I must say, to faff about. To faff about. This is to waste time or engage in unproductive activities. Instead of studying for his exams, Tom would often faff about on social media. That one's very slang. You've now learnt 21 phrasal verbs. Well done. How about a few more? Next story. Have I ever told you about how I dreamt of becoming a professional violinist when I was younger? When I brought up my interest in the violin to my parents, they got me a beginner violin to practice with. But I always struggled to nail the right fingerings and bow technique. One day I met an older woman named Isabella, who was a fantastic violinist. Her passion for music rubbed off on me instantly. Luckily, she took me under her wing and taught me a lot. As the years went by, I began to lose interest in the violin, and I cut back on how much I was playing. It felt like I was letting Isabella down, and my own dreams. I contemplated giving it up altogether. It was a difficult decision to make, but I decided to call off my pursuit of becoming a professional musician. I sorted out my priorities and decided the best decision was to give up so I could pursue whatever truly made me happy. I found a new path in life, and I looked forward to all that life had in store for me. In the end, the lessons I learnt from Isabella about passion, determination and following one's heart paid off in ways I couldn't have imagined. Life can be funny, but it always turns out exactly as it's supposed to. Okay, 10 more phrasal verbs. Let's start with number 22, to bring up. To bring up. This is to mention or introduce a topic or subject in conversation. Sarah decided not to bring up the fact that she was moving out of the country during the family dinner. 23 is to rub off. To rub off on or onto somebody. This is to have a positive influence on someone, causing them to adopt certain qualities or habits. Her enthusiasm for volunteering began to rub off on her friends, inspiring them to join too. Number 24 is to go by. To go by. This is to pass or elapse. The years seemed to go by quickly as she watched her children grow up. 25 is to cut back. To cut back on something. This is to reduce something. I need to cut back on the amount of money I spend on takeaways. 26 is to let down. To let down. This is to disappoint or fail to meet someone's expectations. Marion says she will be here tomorrow. She won't let me down, will she? 27 is to call off. To call off. This is to cancel or terminate an event, plan or activity. Due to bad weather, they had to call off the outdoor picnic and reschedule it. 28 is to sort out. To sort out. This is to resolve or organise a situation or problem. I've got to sort out the plumbing issue in the kitchen. It's becoming quite a nuisance. 29 is to look forward to. To look forward to. This is to anticipate or be excited about a future event or experience. The whole family looks forward to the annual reunion. It's the highlight of the year. 30, to pay off. To pay off. This is to yield positive results or success as a result of hard work. Putting in effort into your studies now will pay off in the long run. What you're doing right now to improve your phrasal verbs and your English will pay off in the long run, I promise. And number 31, to turn out. To turn out. This is to result or develop in a particular way, often unexpectedly. Despite initial doubts, the project turned out to be a great success. Okay, next lot of phrasal verbs. I'm going to tell you the juicy story. We say a story is juicy when it contains gossip or interesting or personal information. I'm going to tell you the juicy story of Tom and Elizabeth. They were inseparable throughout sixth form and were the envy of all their peers. But in our final year, something changed dramatically. Their relationship, once unbreakable, suddenly fell apart in the most public way possible, right in the common room. It was quite ugly, with harsh words exchanged and tears shed. Despite their friends' encouragement to make up, they couldn't come up with a way to reconcile. It seemed like their love had withered, replaced by bitterness and resentment. Tom, always the stubborn one, insisted on maintaining his distance. On the other hand, Elizabeth desperately wanted to take back what she'd said and rekindle what they once had. Weeks turned into months, and the tension between them refused to budge. They would merely brush one another off when they were in the same room. But time has a way of healing wounds, and slowly but surely they began to cheer up. A sense of gratitude gradually grew on them, allowing them to move on separately. Okay, we have 10 phrasal verbs to look at. Number 32, to fall apart. To fall apart. This is to disintegrate or break down, often referring to relationships or structures, or clothes. Clothes can fall apart. As the years passed, the once grand mansion began to fall apart, its walls crumbling. 33, to make up. To make up. This is to reconcile or to resolve differences, typically after a disagreement or conflict. They knew they had to make up and mend the rift in their friendship after their heated debate. 34 is to come up with something. To come up with something. This is to devise or create a solution, plan, or idea. In her quest for adventure, she often came up with creative ways to appreciate the small things in her life. 35 is to insist on. To insist on. This is to demand firmly, even if others disagree. Abraham's dedication to his art was evident. He insisted on perfection, even if it meant countless revisions. 36, to take back. To take back. This is to admit that something you said or thought was wrong. She wanted to take back her hurtful words, but knew the damage was already done. 37, to turn into. To turn into. This is to become. Their casual flirtation turned into a deep, meaningful connection that neither could ignore. 38 is to brush off. To brush off. This is to dismiss or ignore someone or something casually, often without consideration. He refused to brush off criticism and instead used it as motivation. 39 is to cheer up. To cheer up. This is to become happier or to make someone feel happier. Music has a magical way of cheering up the soul, even in the most difficult times. 40 is to grow on. To grow on. And this is to gradually become more likable or acceptable over time. We often grow on someone, meaning we become more likable to them. At first, our new colleague seemed reserved, but over time, he began to grow on everyone. Everyone began to like him and accept him. And 41, to move on. To move on. This is to continue with life after a challenging period. After a period of unemployment, she managed to move on by starting her own business. Okay, last story of the day. This one is about my two little rascals, Diego and Alfonso. One sunny afternoon, while I was busy working on a project at home, I accidentally left the garden gate slightly ajar. Diego, my mischievous dog, and Alfonso, my curious cat, seized the opportunity to set out on a grand adventure together. I only found out about their escape when I heard a commotion outside and saw the gate was wide open. Panic filled my heart as I rushed out, calling their names. As I searched the village, I ran into my neighbour, Miss Jenkins, who told me that she had seen the unlikely duo gallivanting around the park. I wondered to myself what they could possibly be getting up to. I hurried to the park, and there they were, Diego and Alfonso chasing butterflies. I could see that they were warming to the excitement of their little adventure. Before I could reach them, they decided to make a dash through the bushes. My attempt to cut them off was useless. I ended up letting them have their day. I tagged along behind them wherever they went, just observing. Hours later, as the sun began to set, they finally turned up looking tired and muddy. When Will arrived home, I filled him in on what had happened. All he could do was shake his head and laughed as he looked at our two exhausted pets fast asleep on the floor. We have 9 phrasal verbs to cover with that one. 42 is to set out, to set out. And this is to begin a journey or start an activity. The explorers set out to try to reach the South Pole. 43 is to find out, to find out. This is to discover or learn something, often unexpectedly. I found out too late that my favourite singer was coming to town. 44 is to run into, to run into. This is to meet someone or something by chance. While shopping, I ran into a childhood friend I hadn't seen in years. 45, to get up to, to get up to. This is to be involved in or busy with something, especially something unexpected, and it sometimes implies it's something naughty or mischievous. He used to get up to all kinds of mischief when he was younger. 46 is to warm to warm to, and this is to begin to enjoy something or to become more enthusiastic about something. My dad finally warmed to the idea of moving in with us. 47 is to cut off, to cut off. This is to block or intercept someone or something's path. My husband cannot walk in a straight line and always cuts me off whenever we walk down the street together. 48, to tag along. To tag along. This is to go somewhere with a person or a group, usually when you have not been invited. I used to always tag along with my older sister and her friends when they went out for the day. 49 is to turn up, to turn up. This is to arrive at a place or event, often unexpectedly or after being missing. Just when we thought he wouldn't make it, he turned up at the party with a surprise gift. And number 50, we made it. This is to fill somebody in. To fill somebody in on something. This is to provide someone with information or details about an event or situation. Could you please fill me in on the details of the project? I've been out of the loop. How did you find that lesson? I love learning new vocabulary in context. It really helps me to understand the meaning without having to check in a dictionary. Let's continue with that theme and take a look at 17 incredibly useful phrases introduced with a story. You are going to learn the English that I use on a daily basis, and I'm going to teach you in the most interesting way possible through a real story. As I go through this story, you're going to hear some English phrases that I use every day, and these are real world English expressions and idioms that I use in my everyday speech, and you're going to hear them in context, which is very important, and then after I'll explain exactly what they mean. Using these expressions will make you sound natural and more native when you speak in English. Are you ready to hear my story? So, this was a few years ago now, and as many of you might know, my husband Will used to be a farmer. We work together running English with Lucy now, but previously he was a farmer. And because his birthday is in June and clashes with the high season, the busy season in his particular area of farming, he had never had a birthday party as an adult. Ever. And this broke my heart. It was going to be his 30th birthday, so I wanted to arrange something really special for him, and so I settled on surprising him with a golf tournament with all of his friends. But I wasn't quite sure how to get it off the ground. So I turned to one of Will's good friends, Charlie, who first told me it was the best idea ever, go me, and then he gave me some advice. He said, if I were you, I'd call the club first. Then get a small group together to play and invite the partners for dinner afterwards. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself here and draw your attention to a few of those everyday English phrases. And the first was to get something off the ground, which means to make something start to happen or to succeed. And this is such a common phrase among native speakers. An example, I have so many ideas, but I never seem able to get them off the ground. The next phrase was the best idea ever, and we use this structure with a superlative a lot in English to respond with enthusiasm. And in speech, we often omit the and just say best idea ever, or worst film ever, hardest exam ever. And the last one there was, if I were you, and you might recognize this as the second conditional. And this is such a common use of this structure because we love giving advice. I don't like receiving it, but I love giving it. An example, if I were you, I wouldn't invite Jack to the party. He always gets overexcited. Okay, I want to continue my story now. So I went to the local golf club and I told them what I wanted. And they were all, what a brilliant idea, blah, blah, blah. And they told me that they had a special menu available around the time that I was planning Will's get-together. The chef even popped out and said, ugh, you're in for a treat. Now, it looked a bit pricey, but they assured me it was well worth the money. Then they started recommending me some very expensive whiskey that I could have ready for Will when he finished playing. I politely said, I'm not sure about that. Let me have a think. All right. Let me interrupt myself again for a moment. The first phrase I want to draw your attention to is they were all. Now, I'm sure you understood that I meant they all said, but native speakers use the expression he was all or I was all, etc. in spoken English, often to convey that someone had strong feelings about something, whether or not we think they're being sincere. You might have heard something similar with they were like or I was like. That's more about just saying something. They were all, I was all, implies that we don't know that they're being sincere. An example, I invited Jerry to the party and she was all, awesome, I'll be there. And then she didn't turn up. The next phrase was, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. And we love using this phrase to say that something is a good idea. We also sometimes use it sarcastically to say that something is going to be challenging or just not very good. For example, I signed up for a spinning class with Helen tomorrow. Oh, you're in for a treat. And the last phrase was one that we Brits use all the time because we hate saying no or disagreeing directly. I'm not sure about that, or I'm not so sure about that. If you hear that phrase from a British person, it nearly always means no. I think we should have a picnic for Olivia's birthday. I'm not sure about that. It's going to rain. I followed that up with the phrase, let me have a think. Let me have a think. And this is another really common expression that basically means no, but I don't want to say it right now. Very British. Sorry. Oh God, I said sorry. Okay, back to my story. I got the ball rolling with the invitations by calling some of Will's closest friends. I said, are you free on Saturday the 3rd of June? Do you fancy coming down to celebrate Will's 30th? Okay, we've got 3 more great everyday English expressions in there. The first was to get the ball rolling, and this means to make something start to happen. Very similar to get it off the ground, to get something off the ground, to get the ball rolling, or to start the ball rolling. An example, it looks like no one wants to speak first, so I'll get the ball rolling. Next we had, are you free on? Are you free on? And this is one of the most common ways to ask someone to attend an event that you're planning. Are you free on Sunday? We're thinking of going out for a pub lunch. And the last one was, do you fancy? Do you fancy? Which is another way to ask if someone wants to do something. Do you fancy going out for a bite to eat? Would you like to? Does this interest you? Before I get back to my story, there's one extra thing I want to mention. I said Will's 30th, not Will's 30th birthday. It's very common to shorten significant birthdays like this. Lucy's 18th, Pete's 60th. You can do it for less significant birthdays, my 25th, on my 24th, for my 58th. Okay, here's the final part of my story, and this is where it gets good. The forecast said it was going to rain on the day, but I decided to play it by ear and didn't make any other plans. It turned out to be gorgeous weather, and Will was over the moon when I told him what was happening. When we got to the golf club, it turned out that I had been told the wrong prices, and instead of £60 a head, it was £100 a head on Saturdays. I literally trembled as I handed over my credit card. He and his mates played a round of golf and had a tipple between holes. We finally sat down to eat, and Will, who was feeling very happy, slightly tipsy, and very generous, accidentally said, "Oh, don't worry guys, we got this." He accidentally offered to pay for everyone's meal. Now bear in mind that the golf club had already put their prices up, so it was going to be incredibly expensive, but we were also in the middle of a mortgage application, so cash was a bit tight. At the time when I had to pay for all of those rounds of golf and a meal for, I think, about 14 people. But what could we do? Everyone had an amazing time and they said the food was out of this world. We finally called it a night at about midnight. I needed a little lie down when I saw the bill, but it was Will's first birthday party in about 10 years, so no regrets. So that's my story. I'd love to know, has anything similar ever happened to you? Have you ever ended up spending a lot more than you originally planned? I'll remind you to write about it in the comments at the end of this lesson, but right now we have to look at the final set of English expressions that I use virtually every day. And the first one is to play it by ear, which means to deal with a situation as it develops rather than making plans. An example, I don't know how many people are coming, we'll have to play it by ear. The next is to be over the moon, which is how Will felt when I told him about my plan. This means to be very happy, and we use this idiom a lot. My sister was over the moon when I offered to babysit her children for the night. We also have the phrase, "we've got this," or "we got this." If you say, "I've got this," or "I got this," it means I'll pay for this. Don't worry, I got this. I got this is very slang. I've got this is slightly less slang because it's more grammatically correct. Don't worry about lunch today. I've got this. I owe you one. Next was to bear in mind, And this is such a common expression that we use to say to remember or to consider a piece of information. Bear in mind that I only cooked for 10 people, but over 30 turned up. The next one was out of this world, which is a way to emphasize how fantastic something is. The decorations were out of this world. The second to last phrase is to call it a night, We normally say to call it a night when something's finishing quite late, and to call it a day when it's finishing at normal work time, but they are used interchangeably. An example, at 10 p.m. I decided to call it a night and finish up in the morning. And finally, my final English word that I use every day is a lie down, or as part of a phrase, to have or to need a lie down. Now, we often use this literally when we're feeling sleepy, but we also use it metaphorically to say that something shocked us so much that we needed to lie down. After seeing the price tag on the dress, I needed a lie down. Okay, how are you doing? Do you need to have a lie down? Please don't tell me you're going to call it a day. You've got this. We've already covered more than 300 words. We are over halfway through. I think this is the perfect opportunity to remind you of the mega ebook that accompanies this lesson. It contains all of the words and phrases from this lesson. It's the perfect way for you to keep a written record of what you already know and the areas you need to work on. Why not set yourself a goal of learning 10 new words and phrases a week? I've actually included a little template in the PDF that you can use to track your vocabulary development. And don't forget, I gave you my B1 to C1 ebook too. And you can take my free vocabulary test. All the links for that are in the description box. Okay, we've already built some strong foundations with daily phrases and common vocabulary. As we begin the second half of this video, we are now entering the realm of advanced level vocabulary. Let's start as we mean to go on with 21 advanced words and phrases based on 3 topics: lifestyle and well-being, people, and work. There's a mini quiz after each section to keep you on your toes and help you track your progress. Today, we are focusing on an advanced level of English. This is an advanced C1 level vocabulary lesson. We are going to deep dive into 21 advanced English words and phrases that will significantly elevate your level of proficiency in English. All right, let's get started with the lesson. The words and phrases are divided into 3 topics. We have lifestyle and well-being, people, and work. And I'm going to give you a short quiz after each section to check if you can remember what you've learnt. Let's start with lifestyle and well-being. Firstly, we have at face value. At face value means accepting something as it appears to be without questioning its true nature or its authenticity. For example, you shouldn't take everything you read about nutrition at face value. Always verify the information is from reliable sources. Next, we have to have a crack at something. To have a crack at something. This means to attempt or try something, often for the first time or with great enthusiasm. For example, even though she had never tried rock climbing before, Tara decided to have a crack at it during the team building event. We also have a lovely one, to burn the midnight oil. To burn the midnight oil. This means to study or work late into the night, often to complete a task or to prepare for something or meet a deadline. For example, with exams approaching, Sarah found herself burning the midnight oil to cover all the required material. We also have to strike a balance. To strike a balance. This means to find a compromise or a middle ground, another nice phrase, between two competing factors. For example, it's essential to strike a balance between work and leisure for a healthy lifestyle. Next, we have to let off steam. To let off steam. This means to do or say something that helps you to release some anger or frustration that you feel. I was so furious that I had to go for a walk around the block to let off steam, to release my anger. We also have to count one's blessings. This one's lovely. This means to make an effort to be grateful for the good things in your life. To count your blessings. For example, when I'm feeling down, I try to remember to count my blessings and be grateful for what I have. Sometimes we use it in a sarcastic or patronizing way. If someone is being ungrateful for what they have, we might say, count your blessings. There are people that are way worse off than you are. The final one for our lifestyle and well-being section is to bloom. To bloom, and you might know this word in connection with flowers. The flower opens, it blooms. Such a nice word. Bloom, bloom. When a person blooms, they become healthy, happy, and confident. We sometimes use it when talking about maturity, although we'll use blossom as well. But it's a really positive phrase. Carl bloomed during his 6-week holiday in the countryside, thanks to the fresh air and healthy food. Okay, first break, first quiz. What can you remember from what I just taught you? Firstly, which word is missing from this sentence? I'm going to have at kayaking today. I'm nervous, but I'm sure it will be a lot of fun. I'll give you 5 seconds. It's crack. Well done. Okay, next. If I'm really angry and I decide to go for a run to calm down, what am I doing? Am I A, letting off steam, or B, letting out a scream? It was A, letting off steam. Although if you said letting out a scream, I think people would understand you were releasing anger. Okay, and lastly, which of the words that I just taught you means to develop healthily and happily? Can you remember it? It was bloom. Well done if you got it right. Okay, let's move on to talking about people. First one, to stick one's neck out. To stick one's neck out. This means to take a risk or to expose yourself to possible criticism or danger by doing or saying something. For example, despite the controversy surrounding the issue, Jane decided to stick her neck out and support the new policy. Next, we have a knee-jerk reaction. A knee-jerk reaction. Have you ever been to the doctor and they hit your knee with a hammer and you just can't help but react? It's your reflex, isn't it? Well, a knee-jerk reaction is an immediate, automatic response to a situation, often without careful consideration or thought. For example, when we heard about the increase in crime rates, our knee-jerk reaction was to insist on more police patrols in the area. That was just the immediate gut reaction. We also have to split hairs, and I do have a few split hairs. I just love doing my hair, that's the problem. But if you split hairs, it doesn't mean you're styling your hair too much. It means you have a very annoying character trait. It means to argue or worry about very small details or differences that are unimportant. For example, sometimes I feel like my husband splits hairs over insignificant matters and it leads to unnecessary arguments. Another phrase with a relevant backstory is pecking order. Pecking order. This is social hierarchy in a group, in which all individuals in that group are aware of how important everyone is, the different levels of important. And I presume that this comes from chickens or birds. An example, there's a clear pecking order in their group of friends, with Sally being top of the pile. I was never top of the pecking order at school. I just didn't have it in me. Now, the next three words are adjectives used to describe people, and the first one is shrewd. Shrewd. And this describes someone who is good at understanding and making judgments about situations. They're often quite good at taking the emotion out. A shrewd person is able to make decisions that will give them an advantage. For example, Claire was a shrewd business person and she made several wise investment decisions when she was still young. Next, number 13, we have obstinate. Obstinate, and notice how I pronounce it with a schwa at the end. Obstinate, not obstinate. This means refusing to change your opinion or actions despite people trying to make you do so. We could also say stubborn in a way. It's often used for children. Henry was a very obstinate teenager and he consistently refused to admit that he might be wrong about something. An extra little Lucy's note here. I've seen some students mix up obstinate with another advanced adjective, abstinent. Abstinent. It might be the combination of T's and N's, but abstinent has an entirely different meaning. It means to refrain from indulging in a particular behaviour. This is often related to vices or bad habits. You abstain from doing something. Our final word in this topic is placid. Placid with the S sound, the soft C. We use placid to describe someone who's very calm and isn't easily excited or annoyed. Despite the hullabaloo around her, Ali remained placid and continued with her work. It's quiz time. It's quiz time. Can you answer these three questions? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to answer each one. Firstly, which word is missing? My knee reaction to hearing my son had been arrested was to be utterly livid. Jar, jam, jet or jerk? It's jerk. Excellent job if you got that right. Number 2, sometimes it's best to keep your opinions to yourself and not your out. Is it stick your head, stack your neck, stick your neck, or stuck your nose? Have a think. Stick your neck out. Don't stick your neck out or they'll chop your head off. And the third one, which words that I just taught you are synonyms for these words? Calm and stubborn. Which two words are synonyms? Placid, obstinate. Bonus points if you got the pronunciation right of obstinate. Okay, let's move on to our last section. It is work, and our first phrase is to pull some strings. To pull some strings. This means to use your influence or connections, often secretly or inefficiently, to achieve a desired outcome. By pulling some strings, Tom was able to get his sister a prestigious position at a London-based accounting firm. The next one is to have a field day. To have a field day, which means to take advantage of a situation, typically for personal benefit and often at the expense of others. For example, when the news of the scandal broke, tabloid journalists had a field day writing sensational stories. Next, we have to be privy to. To be privy, and note that pronunciation, not privy, privy. This means to have access to or knowledge of secret or confidential information. The CEO's assistant is privy to all the important decisions in the company. Another one I use quite a lot is on the back burner. On the back burner. If something is on the back burner, it's low priority and it's not being dealt with at the present moment. Let's put this project on the back burner and focus on more pressing matters. If ever I'm really busy, I put lots of things on the back burner. Next, we have an adjective, cushy. Cushy. I wonder if you can guess what it means. It's very similar to another word, cushion. If something is cushy, it means it's very easy, requiring little effort. Comfortable. Sometimes people say cushy as well. This is slang, but we use it in professional situations. Ellen got a cushy job that pays well but allows her lots of free time. Number 20 is a fantastic idiom. It is to get your foot in the door. To get your foot in the door. This means to enter a company or organization at a low level with a chance of being promoted or being more successful in the future. Lena got her foot in the door as an intern, but she worked her way up to department head in just a few years. And my final phrase for you is to go belly up. To go belly up. And we use this to talk about companies, and it means to fail completely and to have to close. The business went belly up after just a year of trading. Okay. It's that time again. Quiz time. Which word is missing? I managed to get my in the door at an amazing company earlier in my career, and I've worked my way up to management level. Head, foot, leg, or hand? Foot. You get your foot in the door. Number 2. You know the Prime Minister, right? Can you pull some and get me an interview with her? Is it strikes, strides, streams, or strings? That's right, we pull some strings. And finally, if a job is very easy and doesn't require much effort, how can we describe it? Cushy. Or if you said cushy, I'll let you have that one too. Okay, that's everything from me today. I really hope you enjoyed learning these 21 advanced words and phrases in English. Okay, were there a lot of new phrases for you in that video? Will you be burning the midnight oil to learn them all? Now that video was full of a wide range of really advanced phrases. In the next video, we are going to focus solely on 20 advanced verbs. This video is the perfect antidote to sounding repetitive and will help you to convey your actions with more precision. Let's get started. Today we are going to talk about advanced English. Our focus today is on advanced C1, C2 level verbs. If you incorporate these verbs into your daily spoken English, you will impress people, especially if you say them in a very natural, nonchalant way. Let's get started with the advanced English verbs. Number 1, to advocate. To advocate. This is to publicly support or recommend a particular policy or action. An example, the celebrity uses her social media platform to advocate for a more sustainable future. Or the politician advocated for greater economic equality for all citizens. Number 2, to amplify. To amplify. This is to make something louder or stronger, to increase the effect or impact of something. The megaphone amplifies the speaker's voice and makes it easier to hear. Or the digital marketing campaign amplified the reach and impact of the brand's message. Number 3, to articulate. To articulate. This is to express or explain something in a clear and effective way, or to pronounce words clearly and distinctly. For example, the public speaker articulated her vision for the future with passion and conviction. Or the language learner is practicing articulating difficult sounds to improve her pronunciation. Number 4, to comprehend. To comprehend. This is to understand the meaning or significance of something. The student struggles to comprehend the complex theories presented in the lecture. Or the reader will have to reread the passage multiple times to comprehend the author's message. Number 5, to convey. To convey, and this is to communicate or express something to others. This is often a message or information. The artist uses her paintings to convey her emotions and experiences. Or the journalist conveyed the breaking news to the public with accuracy and timeliness. Number 6, to corroborate. To corroborate. A lot of ers in that one. To corroborate. This is to confirm or support a statement, theory, or finding with evidence or testimony. the witness is able to corroborate the victim's account of the crime. Or the scientist corroborated her hypothesis with multiple experiments. Number 7, to decipher. To decipher. This is to discover the meaning of something written in a bad or hidden way. We can use it to talk about converting code or symbols or a foreign language into understandable language. The traveller struggled to decipher the foreign language on the menu. Or the detective will have to decipher the hidden meaning behind the suspect's cryptic message. Next, we have to differentiate. To differentiate. This is to distinguish or to recognize the differences between things or people. The sommelier is able to differentiate between the subtle flavors in the wine. Or the teacher developed lesson plans to help students differentiate between similar concepts. Number 9, to dissect. To dissect. This is to analyze or examine something in detail, often by breaking it down into its components or parts. The scientist dissects the specimen to study its internal structure. Or the literary critic dissected the novel to explore its themes and symbols. Next we have to efface. To efface, and this is to remove or erase something intentionally, so it's no longer visible or noticeable. The politician tried to efface the scandal from his public record with a new campaign. Or the storm winds are so strong that they are effacing the markings on the road. Next, number 11, we are over halfway there. Elaborate. Elaborate. I love this word. It means to add more detail or explanation to something, often to expand or to clarify a concept, idea, or thought. The designer elaborated on her original concept after receiving feedback from the client. Or, I can see you didn't understand, so I'm going to elaborate on my point. Next, we have to exacerbate. To exacerbate, and this is to make a situation or problem worse. The drought exacerbated the water shortage in the region. Or, the medication side effects have exacerbated my existing health problems. Number 13, to extrapolate. To extrapolate. This is to guess or estimate or forecast something using what you already know. For example, The Economist extrapolates future trends from current economic indicators. Or, we tend to predict the future by extrapolating from the past. Next we have to facilitate. This means to make something possible or easier or more convenient to do. For example, the new technology will facilitate communication among team members. Or, the tutor facilitated the development of her students' skills. Next we have to galvanize. To galvanize, and this is to shock or excite someone into taking action. The tragic event galvanized the community to come together and support each other. Or, the recent news has galvanized the public to demand change. Number 16 is to integrate. To integrate, and this is to combine or blend things together in a harmonious or really functional way. The new employee is integrating well with the team. Or, the architect integrated the old and new elements of the building design seamlessly. Number 17 is to mitigate. To mitigate, and this is to make something less harmful, less unpleasant, or less bad. You reduce or you alleviate the severity or the impact of something that's often a problem or a negative consequence. The safety measures in place mitigate the risk of accidents, or the environmental policies have mitigated the damage to the ecosystem. Number 18 is to perceive. To perceive. This is to think of something in a particular way, or to become aware or conscious of something through your senses or intuition. She perceives that her boss is unhappy with her work because of his constant criticism. Or, the artist perceived the beauty of nature and incorporated it into her work. Number 19, we have reconcile. Reconcile. Careful with the pronunciation, it's not reconcile. This is normally used passively, and it's to make people become friends again after a breakup or an argument. It can also mean to find an acceptable way of dealing with two ideas or concepts that seem to be opposed to each other, to make two conflicting things compatible or consistent with each other. The mediator is trying to reconcile the differences between the two parties, or the couple reconciled after a period of separation. And finally, to scrutinize. To scrutinize. This is to examine or inspect something very closely, very thoroughly. You're combing through for mistakes, potentially. His apology was carefully scrutinized by his PR team before it was released to the public. Or she scrutinized his essay but couldn't find a single error. Right, those were your 20 incredibly advanced English verbs. As I mentioned, they are C1 to C2 level. Okay, which of those verbs do you think you'll be able to work into your next English conversation? Maybe you're feeling a little out of your depth. Now, as we become more proficient in a language, we begin to realize that some words aren't just useful. Some words are beautiful too. In this next video, I've compiled 15 of my absolute favorite words, and as an added bonus, in the ebook, I've also included 15 of the ugliest words I know, just to balance things out. Who knows, you may actually end up preferring the ugly ones. I'm going to share my love of the English language with you because I am a logophile. What's a logophile? It's somebody who loves words, somebody who is drawn to words. Today I'm going to share with you 15 of my favorite words, the words that I find most beautiful in English. Spoiler, lots of them are borrowed from other languages. I'm going to give you their pronunciation, definitions, examples, words that I think we should all use more often. I've selected these words because I find that they roll off the tongue, or at least some of them do, and others just have really beautiful meanings. Right, let's get started with word number 1. Appealing. Appealing. I love that long E sound. Appealing. Appealing. This means attractive or interesting. To me, it sounds slightly flirtier than just saying something or someone is beautiful. They're appealing. I'm interested in them. An example, his rich vocabulary made him sound so appealing. This is actually a word that my mother uses quite a lot. If she sees something delicious or smells some nice food, she will always say, that looks so appealing. Number 2, ineffable. Ineffable. This means too great or too beautiful to describe in words. Something so wonderful that you can't express how wonderful it is. It's ineffable. An example, when I heard of their pregnancy, I was filled with ineffable joy. Number 3, quite different, nefarious. Nefarious. I love that air sound. I know lots of learners of English struggle with that air sound. You're always taught to pronounce it as air. However, I have a little pronunciation secret that I use with my students, and my students tend to find it a lot easier to think of it as an extension of an sound. Air. Just bring the volume down slightly at the end. Air. Nefarious. Now, nefarious is a beautiful word, in my opinion, but it doesn't necessarily have a very beautiful meaning. It means criminal or extremely bad. I find this word appealing because I find it very expressive. An example, they hacked into my bank account and used the funds for nefarious purposes. Word number 4 has a story behind it for me. The word is ethereal. Ethereal, and it means extremely light and beautiful, or seeming to belong to another, more spiritual world. Now, obviously, this word, as it is beautiful, and the meaning is beautiful too. But what I think is really funny about it is that to me it represents how difficult English pronunciation and spelling can be. And as you might have noticed, the way English words are spelt often gives no indication as to how they ought to be pronounced. Ethereal is a clear example of that for me. When I was young, I remember being 7, 8, 9 years old, reading this word in a book and simply presuming that it would be pronounced Ethereal. Ethereal. Not real, ethereal. I was always quite shy at school, but one day I felt particularly confident and I put my hand up in an English class and I told the teacher that I found something to be ethereal. Luckily, it was a very sweet English teacher and they didn't shoot me down or make fun of me. They just giggled and told me they could see why I pronounced it like that, but it's actually ethereal. So that's why this word is very deserving of being on this list, because I think it has a really beautiful story behind it, for me at least. An example of ethereal in a sentence. At sunrise, the London skyline almost looks ethereal. Number 5. If you know me well, if you've followed me for a long time, you might understand why I love this word so much. It's epiphany. Epiphany. It means a sudden and surprising moment of realization. And 3 years ago, when I started creating online English courses, I named my first pronunciation course after this word, epiphany. I've since changed the name of my online language school to simply englishwithlucy.com because it's easier for everyone. But that word epiphany still means a lot to me. I want my students to have an epiphany, a moment of realization and understanding when it comes to their language skills and their pronunciation. An example, when she took the course, she had an epiphany and everything became clear. Number 6, it's short, it's sweet, it's angst. It's a feeling of great worry or concern about your situation or your life. And you often hear teenage angst. I wrote emotional poetry when I was full of teenage angst. Number 7, euphoria. Euphoria. I think it's the name of a TV show. This means an extremely strong feeling of excitement or happiness that usually only lasts a short while. An example, after receiving the letter of acceptance, I was in a state of euphoria. Number 8, cherish. Cherish. I actually met someone the other day whose first name was Cherish, and she really deserved that name. She was so lovely. This is a verb meaning to love someone or something very much and to want to protect them or it. An example, I will always cherish the letter he wrote to me before he passed away. Number 9 is eternity. Eternity. And this simply means time without end. For example, a mother's love lasts for eternity. Number 10, quintessence. Quintessence. You may have heard this in its adjective form before, quintessential, which is also very beautiful. But I think this one is used less frequently and it should be used more frequently because it's a very lovely word, quintessence. It means the perfect example of something. If you see a perfect country cottage with beautiful light stone and roses up it, you can say that it is the quintessence of an English country cottage. My 11th beautiful word is feces. Feces, I'm joking, it's not feces. That means poop. I don't know, I listened to my intrusive thoughts there. Number 11 is plethora. Plethora, and this one really does roll off the tongue. It means an amount that is greater than is needed or can be used. Number 12. Love this one. I mean, I love all of them. That's why I've put them in this list, but I really like number 12. Pristine. Pristine. This word is so expressive. It means fresh and clean as if new. Her house was pristine, and that's another one that my mother uses a lot, and her house really is always pristine. You could literally eat off my mother's floors. I don't suggest you try to eat off my floors. Number 13, surreptitiously. Surreptitiously. It means in a quick or secret way so that people don't notice. For example, she surreptitiously slid her phone number under his napkin. Napkin is another word for serviette. Number 14, dulcet. Dulcet. Dulcet means sounding sweet or pleasant, and it's often collocated with tones. Dulcet tones. If you're talking about somebody's dulcet tones, it means their sweet voice. An example, I can always recognize her dulcet tones. I can always recognise her lovely voice. You might hear Brits using this one sarcastically. If someone is speaking with a very loud and unpleasant voice, you might say, I know those dulcet tones well, or oh, I recognise those dulcet tones. And number 15, the last one is docile. Docile, I love that O sound, docile. This means quiet and easy to control, and we often use it to talk about animals that have a very sweet nature. An example, the puppy is calm and incredibly docile. Said no puppy owner ever. My puppy was docile for the first week, and then it was chaos for a year and a half. And now he's docile again. I can't believe he's nearly 6. Okay, so I'm dying to know, which one did you find the most stunning? Let me know in the comments. I chose a lot of those words as I love pronouncing them. They just seem to roll off the tongue. The next video is packed full of advanced expressions that are really fun to say. Are you ready for some rhyming slang? We're going to be covering the topic of slang, but more importantly, rhyming slang. I'm going to teach you how and why we use phrases like holy moly, nitty gritty, fuddy duddy, higgledy piggledy. It's the ultimate vocabulary, grammar and slang and pronunciation lesson. Today I'm going to teach you about something that most native speakers won't even realise they do, and they certainly wouldn't be able to explain why. We're going to talk about rhyming reduplication. Okay, I've written a little poem for you, and there's a reason behind it. I've not just gone into poetry. There was once a teacher from Britain who gave classes to Alfonso the kitten. But he didn't like reading, he just wanted feeding, so he munched up what Lucy had written. Alfonso is the name of my cat. Now, there is something inherently satisfying about rhyming words, isn't there? Apparently, it makes our brains really happy when they hear the sound patterns that occur in rhymes. Now, we do this a lot in English, especially to say something in a light-hearted way. For example, holy moly, there are a lot of examples. Holy moly is an interjection showing surprise. Now don't worry, I'm going to show you the nitty-gritty. The nitty-gritty is the important detail. We're going to go from the itsy-bitsy, and itsy-bitsy means very, very small, to the higgledy-piggledy. Higgledy-piggledy means confused or jumbled. Trust me, these expressions are the bee's knees. The bee's knees is an idiom that means excellent. Okie dokie, let's go. Okie dokie means okay. See, there are a lot of them. Okay, so these rhyming expressions are called rhyming reduplication. And in rhyming reduplication, we alter the beginning of the word, and generally this is a consonant or a consonant cluster. For example, ease, ease. Bee's knees. Bee's knees is a copy apart from the consonant sounds at the start of the words. Two-part expressions like this sound extremely informal and bring the register right down to a fun level so that you won't sound hoity-toity. Another one. Hoity-toity is behaving like you are better than everyone else. I hate all this hoity-toity. Here are a few more. Boogie-woogie. Oh, I love that one. Boogie-woogie. Boogie means dance, and so does boogie-woogie. Let's go out next weekend and boogie-woogie. That one does sound a little old-fashioned. This one does too, but not in the same way. Fuddy-duddy. Fuddy-duddy. This noun, or sometimes adjective, describes someone who is old-fashioned or something that is old-fashioned. I find it adorable though. Don't be such a fuddy-duddy, come out tonight. Or his outfit was a bit fuddy-duddy. We also have quite a childish one, silly Billy, silly Billy. And this is what we say to children who aren't behaving in a sensible way. We also use it a lot with our pets because we treat our pets as our children in the UK. The tone of voice is important with this one, as otherwise it could sound pretty insulting. Oh, you are a silly Billy. Take that bucket off your head. Fun fact, I actually got a bucket stuck on my head as a child. I put it on like this and put the strap under my chin to look like a soldier. I was definitely a silly Billy. It had to be cut off and it was my favourite bucket. In fact, I don't think I've recovered. Another, hocus pocus. This is silliness or magical activity often used to trick someone. Just be honest, Stop all this hocus pocus. Often wizards will say it before casting a spell. Hocus pocus, she's disappeared. We also have lovey-dovey. This is a romantic adjective for people who show PDAs. PDAs. These are public displays of affection. Mum and dad are far too lovey-dovey. They're always holding hands. Another you might come across, not so common, helter-skelter. This is either a type of slide that goes all the way around like that, you'll find it in a playground, or an adjective to describe hurrying and confusion. We had a helter-skelter journey to the show. We also have one that I love to say, namby-pamby. Namby-pamby, this is an adjective meaning weak, feeble, maybe excessively emotional, and it's a bit cruel, to be honest. What a namby-pamby idea. It's really insulting. Willy-nilly is one that I use all the time. And this is an adverb to describe doing something in an irregular way. The new agency just sends its proposals willy-nilly. Yeah, if you do something willy-nilly, it's without planning or organisation. It's in a random, chaotic way. Don't just do it willy-nilly. Think about it first. We also have Jeepers Creepers. Jeepers Creepers, and this is an exclamation showing surprise or shock. And I'm pretty sure that it comes from avoiding saying something blasphemous, avoiding saying Jesus Christ, because we have Jesus Christ, Jeepers Creepers. Some people want to avoid that. It's quite a nice one to use. Jeepers Creepers. Knock on the door before you just come in next time. Now, let's move on to the topic of nicknames. British people quite like assigning nicknames to each other, and we love them even more if they rhyme. So you could have a Steady Eddie, Handy Andy, Merry Jerry, Bonnie Johnny, Smiley Kylie. I'm often called Juicy Lucy. It really works well with two-syllable names. Anyone can make rhyming reduplications about anything, and there's a really common format. It often happens by replacing the first consonant with w in the reduplication. It's very childlike, as you can hear. My friend Jenny Wenny wrote a bookie wookie about a doggy woggy. Okay, one more thing I want to cover. Rhyming schmiming. Rhyming schmiming. Why do we say things like that? This is called schm reduplication. I repeated the word rhyming, but I replaced the first consonant with schm, rhyming schmiming. I used it here as an intensifier to make the concept more memorable. Here we have some more. Money shmoney. This kind of means like money's not important or money's no object. Homework schmomework. If I heard this, I'd think that the speaker was implying that there are better things to do. We also have bored schmored. This is sort of confrontational. It's like saying, I don't believe you. You aren't bored. Well, you don't have to be bored. Schm reduplication originated in Yiddish, and it's generally used to indicate irony, sarcasm, skepticism, to be dismissive, or as an interjection. It really depends on the context and the intonation, and it's very informal. Do not use this in a job interview. I thought it would be valuable to mention it because you do hear it in a lot of movies, especially ones based in New York. You might hear people saying, I feel fancy schmancy today. Bit of emphasis there, fancy schmancy. Okay, that's it for today. I really enjoyed this lesson. It's fascinating. It's such a fascinating topic to me. I like helping you to understand why we say and use certain things. Okay, are you ready to shoot your vocabulary over the 500 mark? Get ready for another epic lesson. Over the next 30 minutes, you're going to cover 111, that's right, 111 advanced level idioms in context. Let's get on with it. Today, I have got a mammoth video for you. As I'm sure you've seen in the title, you are going to learn 111 idioms, but actually there might be a couple more in there. You'll have to see. Now, I'm sure you've got ants in your pants. I'm sure you're very excited to start this lesson. That was an idiom, number one. I think that the best place to start is to learn some idioms to talk about different levels of happiness and excitement. Number one, in seventh heaven. This means extremely happy or joyful. She was in seventh heaven after finding out she was pregnant. 2. To paint the town red. To go out and enjoy oneself by engaging in lively activities. After their exams, Oliver and his mates decided to paint the town red by hitting as many pubs as they could. 3. Over the moon. This means extremely delighted or thrilled. When he received his dream job offer, he was over the moon with excitement. 4. Similar. On cloud 9. This is a state of complete happiness or euphoria. Tabitha was on cloud 9 when she found out her mum was coming for a visit. 5. On top of the world. Feeling extremely successful, confident and happy. I just landed the lead part in a play. I'm on top of the world. 6. To have a whale of a time. To have an extremely enjoyable and exciting time. During their vacation, they had a whale of a time exploring the beautiful beaches. And 7. To have the time of one's life. To have an exceptionally enjoyable or memorable experience. With the wind in their hair and the ocean beneath their boards, they surfed, having the time of their lives. Full of the joys of spring. This is slightly more old-fashioned. To be extremely happy, cheerful or full of enthusiasm. Even though the rain showed no signs of letting up, she sat in her cosy chair with her book, full of the joys of spring. 9. To make one's day. This is to greatly please or delight someone. Receiving a handwritten letter from her favourite author made her day. And number 10, to conclude this section, in raptures. About or over. In raptures about, in raptures over. In a state of extreme delight or excitement about something. The audience was in raptures over the hilarious performance by the improv comedy act. Let's move on to our next topic. We also like to use idioms to talk about our overall health. So let's have a look at some of my favourites. We have number 11, to kick the bucket. This is to die or pass away. No, Bob isn't coming to the reunion. He kicked the bucket last spring. 12. A clean bill of health. This is a statement or certification of being in good health. After a thorough medical examination, the doctor gave me a clean bill of health. 13. Like death warmed up. Looking extremely ill or unhealthy. Sarah caught a terrible cold but went to work anyway, despite looking like death warmed up. 14. As fit as a fiddle. This means in excellent physical health and condition. John exercises regularly to remain as fit as a fiddle at the ripe old age of 86. 15. To go under the knife. This is to undergo surgery or a medical operation. 16. To have one foot in the grave. This is to be near death or in very poor health. After his heart attack, Tom felt like he had one foot in the grave and wasn't about to waste a single moment. 17. To recharge one's batteries. This is to take a break and rest to regain energy and strength. Julia decided it was finally time to have a weekend getaway to recharge her batteries. 18. As right as rain. This is in perfect order or condition. Perfectly fine. Although she had been feeling unwell, after a good night's sleep, she woke up feeling as right as rain. Number 19, as fresh as a daisy. This is feeling or appearing refreshed and energetic. I felt as fresh as a daisy after my long shower, followed by a warm cup of tea. 20, as pale as a ghost or as pale as death. Not a death, as death. This is having a very pale complexion, often due to fear, illness or shock. The loud crashing sound downstairs caused Jane to turn as pale as a ghost. Number 21, a bag of bones. If someone looks like a bag of bones, they are very thin, typically with prominent bones visible. She felt like a bag of bones after losing weight unintentionally. Okay, next topic. I'm British. It's going to be the weather. Weather is always a big topic here in the UK, so it's no surprise that we have loads and loads of idioms that utilise different natural phenomena. 22, to kick up a storm. This is to cause a significant commotion or controversy. The scandalous revelation kicked up a storm of media frenzy, sparking intense public interest. 23. The calm before the storm. This is a period of relative peace or tranquility before a more turbulent or difficult situation arises. The office seemed quiet, but everyone knew it was just the calm before the storm of the new product launch. 24. To steal someone's thunder. This is to take attention or credit away from someone by doing or saying something that outshines or eclipses their achievement or idea. Phyllis had prepared an elaborate surprise, but Jan's unexpected announcement stole her thunder. 25. Where there's smoke, there's fire. This means if there are signs or indications of a problem or issue, it is likely that a problem or issue exists. Rumours about layoffs at the company have been circulating, and where there's smoke, there's fire. 26. To throw caution to the wind. To act without considering the possible risks or consequences. Despite the warnings, he threw caution to the wind, quite literally, and went skydiving for the first time. 27. To chase rainbows. To pursue unrealistic or unattainable goals or dreams. Instead of focusing on practical career options, he spent his life chasing rainbows and never achieved stability. 28. A storm in a teacup. That's so British. We love the weather and we also love tea. A storm in a teacup. This is a situation that is exaggerated or blown out of proportion, making it seem more significant or serious than it actually is. The argument between the colleagues turned out to be a storm in a teacup and was quickly resolved. 29. Snowed under. This is overwhelmed with a large amount of work, tasks or responsibilities. With the approaching exams, she was completely snowed under and had to study late into the night. 30. To have one's head in the clouds. This is to be daydreaming or not paying attention to or not being aware of what is happening around oneself. During the meeting, Pia seemed to have her head in the clouds and didn't contribute much. 31. To take a rain check. This is to decline an offer or invitation at the present time, but suggest doing it at a later date. Sorry, I can't make it tonight. Can I take a rain check and reschedule? Okay, next topic. Now, I tend to catch the travel bug from time to time, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. So let's learn some idioms related to travel, as well as some idioms that utilize travel-related vocabulary. Starting with number 32, thirst for adventure. This is a strong desire or craving for exciting and daring experiences. My group of friends and I planned an epic road trip to satisfy our collective thirst for adventure. 33. Off the beaten track. This means in a remote or less travelled location, away from the mainstream or popular tourist areas. They decided to go camping in a small village off the beaten track to escape the crowds. 34. To have itchy feet. This is to have a strong desire or restlessness to travel or explore new places. After staying in the same city for years, we had itchy feet and wanted to experience new cultures. 35. To get away from it all. This is to escape or to take a break from one's usual routine or responsibilities, often in search of relaxation. Escaping to a remote tropical island is the perfect way to get away from it all. 36. To hit the road. This is to begin a journey or trip, usually by driving. It's time to hit the road and start our next adventure. We can also use this one to say we are leaving. It's time to hit the road. See you tomorrow. 37. Hustle and bustle. This is busy and noisy activity, often associated with a crowded or lively environment. The city centre was full of hustle and bustle with people rushing around. 38. To catch some rays. This is to spend time in the sun, often to relax or sunbathe. They headed to the beach to catch some rays and enjoy the warm summer weather. 39. A mile a minute. This is at a very fast or rapid pace, quickly and energetically. She talks a mile a minute, but always has something interesting to say. 40. In the same boat. This means in the same situation or predicament as others, facing a common challenge or circumstance. We may have different backgrounds, but during tough times, we're all in the same boat. 41, right up one's street. This is perfectly suited or aligned with one's interests or preferences. With her passion for cooking, this culinary class is going to be right up her street. Okay, next topic, time. We also have loads of idioms to talk about time and getting tasks done. We don't have a moment to lose, so let's get on with the first one. We have 42, round the clock. This means all day and all night without stopping. My mum was a nurse who often worked round the clock to take care of her patients. 43, to call it a day or to call it a night. This is to stop what you're doing because you don't want to do any more or you think you have done enough. After hours of negotiations that were going around in circles, they decided to call it a night. 44, the moment of truth. This is the time when a person or thing is tested or a decision has to be made. The job interview had arrived and it was the moment of truth to showcase his skills and qualifications. 45, love this one, donkey's years. This means a very long time. He's been telling that same joke for donkey's years, but it still manages to get a few laughs. 46, once in a blue moon. This means very rarely. He doesn't eat out often, it only happens once in a blue moon. 47, round the corner. This is very near or happening soon. The deadline for this project is just round the corner, so we need to pick up the pace. 48, like clockwork. This means happening exactly as planned without any trouble or delay. The wedding went like clockwork with every detail perfectly timed. Okay, these next three are all quite similar in meaning. We have 49, down to the wire, meaning until the last possible moment, with only seconds left on the clock. The game went down to the wire, keeping spectators on edge. 50, at the 11th hour, at the last possible moment. The deal was saved at the 11th hour when an unknown investor stepped in with the necessary funds. And 51, in the nick of time. This means just in time or at the last possible moment. He arrived at the airport in the nick of time, just as his flight was due to depart. Okay, next topic. Who doesn't enjoy gossiping about love and relationships? Well, these idioms will be perfect for your next chinwag. Let's start with number 52, to fall head over heels. This is to fall deeply in love or to become infatuated with someone or something, like an animal. When she saw the adorable puppy, she fell head over heels and knew she had to adopt it. 53, the apple of one's eye. This is someone or something that is cherished or highly valued by someone else. His daughter is the apple of his eye. He adores her. 54, to tie the knot. This is to get married or enter into a formal union. After years of dating, they decided it was time to finally tie the knot. 55, to steal one's heart. This is to captivate or charm someone in a way that they fall in love or become deeply attracted. Her infectious laughter and warm personality instantly stole his heart. 56, to pop the question. This is to propose marriage to someone. With the diamond ring hidden in his coat pocket, he planned the perfect moment to pop the question. 57, to play hard to get. This is to act uninterested in order to increase one's desirability or attractiveness to another person. It was clear she was interested, but she couldn't resist playing hard to get, adding to the excitement. 58, to hit it off with someone. This is to have an instant connection or rapport with someone. From the moment they met, they hit it off and became close friends. 59, to be stood up. This is to be intentionally or unexpectedly left waiting for someone who doesn't show up for a planned meeting or date. Glenda arrived at the restaurant eagerly, only to be stood up by her date. And 60, a match made in heaven. This is a couple or pairing that is perfectly suited for each other and seems destined to be together. With their shared interests and values, they truly are a match made in heaven. 61, an old flame. This is a past romantic partner or love interest. When Marsha moved back to her hometown, she reconnected with an old flame from sixth form. Okay, next topic. We have so many colour-related idioms. You've actually already seen a couple, but let's go over some of the most common. 62, to get the green light. This is to receive permission to proceed with a project or action. We finally got the green light to start the new marketing campaign. 63, out of the blue. This is suddenly and unexpectedly. I hadn't heard from him in years, but then he called me out of the blue. 64, green with envy. This is very jealous or envious. She was green with envy when she saw her friend's new car. 65, to be tickled pink. This is to be very pleased or amused. Tony was tickled pink by the surprise party his friends threw for him at the office. 66, golden opportunity. This is an excellent opportunity that is not likely to be repeated. This job is a golden opportunity for someone with a background in journalism like yourself. 67, rose-coloured or rose-tinted spectacles. This is an optimistic perception of something or a really positive perspective, often used when we look back in the past. Note that you can also say glasses instead of spectacles. She always sees the world through rose-tinted spectacles, but sometimes I feel she really needs a reality check. There's a bonus idiom there, reality check. This is an event or situation that brings a person back to the harsh or practical realities of life. 68, a grey area. This is a situation not clearly defined or that falls between two extremes. Their relationship was undefined, existing in a grey area between friendship and romance. 69, to be caught red-handed. This is to catch someone in the act of doing something wrong. My daughter was caught stealing biscuits red-handed, or should I say, biscuit-faced. 70, yellow-bellied or just yellow. This means cowardly or easily scared. He was too yellow-bellied to confront his boss about the ongoing issues he faced. And last one for this topic, on a silver platter. If you are given something on a silver platter, it's given to you without having to work or make an effort for it. He expected success to come to him effortlessly, always wanting things served on a silver platter. Okay, new topic, like colours, animals are also really popular subjects in idioms, and luckily they tend to be some of the best ones. Let's look at number 72, eager beaver. This is a person who is enthusiastic, energetic, and eager to work or participate. Rommel is always the first one to volunteer for new projects. He's such an eager beaver. 73, to take the bull by the horns. This is to confront a difficult or challenging situation directly and decisively. Instead of avoiding the issue, he decided to take the bull by the horns and address the problem head on. 74, to let the cat out of the bag. This is to reveal a secret or disclose confidential information unintentionally or carelessly. My dad couldn't contain his excitement and let the cat out of the bag about our vacation destination. 75, until the cows come home. This means for a very long time, indefinitely, or without a definite end. I know you want to play video games until the cows come home, but eventually you need to do your homework. 76, to drop like flies. This is to rapidly decrease in number or weaken significantly, often due to illness or other negative factors. During the flu season, people were dropping like flies and the hospital was overwhelmed. 77, to hold one's horses. This is to be patient, wait, or stop rushing. I know you're excited, but hold your horses and let's make a plan first. 78 is to pig out. To pig out. This means to eat excessively or indulge in large quantities of food, often in an uncontrolled manner. After weeks of dieting, he decided to pig out and enjoy a cheat day with all his favourite snacks. 79 is to smell a rat. This is to suspect or sense that something is wrong or suspicious. Carolina's instincts told her to be cautious as she began to smell a rat in their business dealings. 80, did you hear this one at the start? To have ants in one's pants. This is to be unable to sit still or to be restless due to impatience, excitement, or anxiety. I've got ants in my pants about this presentation tomorrow. Help me calm down. 81, to have other or bigger fish to fry. This is to have more important or pressing matters to attend to be preoccupied with other tasks or concerns. Sorry, I can't join you for dinner tonight. I have other fish to fry with this project deadline. Okay, new topic. Next up, we have some incredible idioms that are perfect for describing people, specifically people with unique character traits. Let's start with 82, chatterbox. This is a person who talks a lot. My little niece is such a chatterbox. She can talk for hours about the most random things. 83, loose cannon. And my husband sometimes calls me Luce, as in short for Lucy. Cannon. This is a person who behaves in an uncontrolled or unpredictable manner, often causing damage or danger. He's a loose cannon. You never know what he might say or do next. 84. Wet blanket. This is a person who spoils other people's fun by failing to join in with or by disapproving of their activities. Don't invite him to the party. He's such a wet blanket. 85. To blow one's own trumpet. This is to boast or brag about one's own abilities or achievements. He never misses an opportunity to blow his own trumpet. 86. The salt of the earth. This is a person or people of great kindness, reliability, or honesty. She's the salt of the earth, always ready to help those in need. 87. Fair weather friend. This is a person who is only a friend when circumstances are pleasant or profitable. When I was rich, I had many friends, but I found out most of them were just fair weather friends. Number 88 is a jack of all trades. This is a person who can do many different types of work, but who is not necessarily very competent at any of them. We often call it a jack of all trades, but a master of none. An example, he's a jack of all trades. He can fix anything in the house. 89, a worrywart. This is a person who tends to worry a lot, habitually and also needlessly. Don't be such a worrywart, everything will be fine. Number 90 is an armchair critic. This is a person who offers advice or an opinion on something in which they have no expertise or involvement. He's an armchair critic, always talking about football but never playing it. And number 91, the last in this topic, free spirit. This is a person who lives according to their own wishes and beliefs, unconstrained by society's conventions. Shannon's a true free spirit, finding joy in simple pleasures and embracing life's little adventures. Okay, now let's learn some common idioms that utilize numbers. There are loads of these idioms as well, so we're going to just scratch the surface right now. We have number 92. To dress to the nines. This is to dress in a stylish, elegant, or glamorous manner. You can also say to dress to kill as well, but no numbers involved there. My mum always dresses to the nines for special occasions like parties and weddings. Number 93 is to put two and two together. This is to infer or deduce something by combining or connecting available information or clues. When she saw the muddy footprints and wet raincoat, she put two and two together and realised he'd been outside in the rain. Number 94, in two minds. This is to be uncertain or undecided, to have conflicting thoughts or opinions about something. My uncle was in two minds about accepting the job offer because it meant moving to a different city. 95, 9 to 5. That works well, didn't it? This is referring to regular office or business hours, a typical full-time job. He works a 9 to 5 job from Monday to Friday and enjoys his weekends off. 96 is back to square one or back at square one. This is returning to the beginning or starting point of a task or process, often due to a lack of progress or a setback. After the computer crashed and deleted all the files, they had to start the project back at square one. 97, the third degree. This is intense or thorough questioning, often to extract information or elicit a confession. Detective Roberts gave the suspect the third degree, relentlessly questioning and probing for answers to solve the case. 98, 2 left feet. This is lacking coordination or being clumsy, especially when it comes to dancing or physical activities. I can't dance, I've got 2 left feet and always end up stepping on my partner's toes. 99, 2 peas in a pod. This means two people or things that are very similar or nearly identical, often used to describe close friends or siblings. They have the same taste in music, fashion and hobbies. They're like 2 peas in a pod. 100, 40 winks. This is a short nap or brief period of sleep, usually during the day. I'll just lie down and take 40 winks before dinner. I'm feeling a bit tired. And number 101, second to none. This is unmatched or unrivaled, the best or highest quality. Their customer service is second to none. They always go above and beyond to assist their clients. Okay, of course, I saved the best for last. Let's learn some food-related idioms. We have 102, to bring home the bacon. This is to earn a living or provide financial support for oneself or one's family. He took on multiple jobs to bring home the bacon and save up for his dream holiday. 103, one's bread and butter. This is a person's primary source of income or livelihood. Writing is her bread and butter. You should read some of her early works, masterpieces. 104 is a bad egg. This is a person who is dishonest or untrustworthy. Watch out for him. He's known to be a bad egg who can't be trusted. 105, the cream of the crop. This means the best or finest individuals or things in a particular group or category. The Olympic Games bring together athletes who are considered the cream of the crop in their respective sports. 106, to spill the beans. You often hear to spill the tea as well. That's much more modern though, often heard on YouTube. This is to reveal a secret or disclose information that was meant to be kept confidential. Do you know who spilt the beans about their affair? 107, love this one. Not one's cup of tea. This is something that one doesn't enjoy, have an interest in, or find appealing. Horror films are not her cup of tea. She prefers a cheesy rom-com. 108, in a nutshell. This is in a concise or summarized form, briefly and clearly. She explained the entire situation in a nutshell, highlighting only the relevant points. 109, to eat humble pie. This is to admit one's mistake or defeat and show humility or remorse. After realizing his error, he had to eat humble pie and apologize for his rude behavior. 110, egg on one's face. This is to be embarrassed or humiliated by making a mistake or being proven wrong. His incorrect prediction left him with egg on his face when the opposite outcome occurred. And number 111, in a pickle. This is in a difficult, complicated, or problematic situation. We're in a pickle, the car broke down, and we're late for an important meeting. Right, those were your 111 idioms. I absolutely love idiomatic language. A good command of these phrases can really help you take your English expression to the next level. Well done to all of you who are still watching. I really hope you take a break, move your body around a little. And speaking of the body, we're going to finish with one of my more recent videos based on the human body. This one is packed with over 100 words and images to help you learn and memorize this super useful vocabulary. We're going to get up close and personal with the human body, and I mean really personal. We're tackling a lot. We're going to go into a lot of detail. So buckle up, make sure you are all ears as we explore the amazing machine that is the human body. Okay, let's start at the very top, shall we? The head. So you might already know about the forehead, right? Forehead. In my accent, modern received pronunciation, we don't pronounce the R sound, forehead. But in some accents, it's actually pronounced forehead, forehead. And what about these? They are the temples. Temples. They're the flat areas on either side of the forehead. That's where your temporal bones are. Temporal bones. Then moving down, we have this little flap. Mine's very small. A little flap of cartilage here. Cartilage is flexible connective tissue. It's at the front of the ear. It's the tragus. Tragus. Maybe you know someone who's had it pierced. And this soft, fleshy bit at the bottom of the ear is the earlobe. Earlobe, or sometimes just lobe for short. Moving up, we have the crown at the very top of the head. And covering the whole head, the skin that covers the skull, it's the scalp. Scalp, where your hair grows from. Now, move your fingers to the back of your head. Do you feel a little bump? That's your occipital bone. occipital bone. The area around it is called the occipital region, and it's where your skull meets your neck. It's a pretty important place, if you ask me, as it protects the brain's visual processing center. Okay, now it's time to face some face facts. Let's start with the windows of the soul, the eyes. Now, the eyes are pretty complex. The colored part is called your iris. Iris. The black hole in the middle is just like you. It's a pupil. A pupil. A pupil is another word for student. It's also the black hole in your eye. Pupil. It gets bigger when there's not much light, and it shrinks when there's bright light. When I was at university, I used to get rejected from nightclubs because my pupils were always so big. They're very sensitive to light or lack of light. The bouncers thought I had taken an illegal substance, but really, I was just struggling to see in the dark. And what about the white part of the eye? I'm going to be honest, I had to look this one up. It's called the sclera. Sclera. And if you want to remember it, I came up with a way. You can say it's clearer than the rest of your eye, okay? Sclera. Now, let's talk about the flap of skin that's always moving up and down, the eyelid. For some reason, I have crazy control of my eyelids and my eyes in general. I don't know if you can see this. This is my party trick. Look at my irises. Can anyone else do that? Yeah, amazing eye control. I guess if this career doesn't work out, I could just go to the circus. Back to eyelids. Eyelids help to keep the eyes moist and protected. And what about your hairs on your eyelids? They're your eyelashes. Your eyelashes. And they act as another line of protection for the eyes. Just above the eyes, we have the eyebrows. Eyebrows, which also play an important role as they help to keep sweat out of your eyes. What about this little dip in between the eyebrows? This is called the glabella. Glabella, and it's from the Latin word for smooth, which is ironic because this is often where we get frown lines, which are sometimes called 11s. Wrinkle is the more general term for the lines or small folds that appear on your skin as we age or as we express ourselves. Okay, here's a fun one. You know how some people have the little indentations in their cheeks when they smile? These are called dimples. Dimples. I've always wanted dimples. They're actually caused by a split in the muscle that runs through the cheek. Not everyone has them, but perhaps that's why so many of us find them so cute. Okay, now for the nose. There are two openings at the bottom called nostrils. Nostrils. The little groove between the nose and the upper lip, that's a philtrum. Philtrum. Below that, just here, is the Cupid's bow. The Cupid's bow, and that is the double curve of the upper lip. Speaking of mouths, going inside, we've got the gums that hold the teeth in place. I don't know why I'm feeling like I have to demonstrate all of this for you. Gums! The roof of the mouth is called the palate, and the dangly thing at the back of the throat, I can actually touch that with my tongue, but it weirds me out every time I do it. That's the uvula. Uvula. It helps with swallowing and even with making sounds in certain languages. Are you ready to move on? Let's go to the neck and shoulders. So with the neck, the back of the neck where the hairline ends is called the nape of the neck. It's a super sensitive area for many people. I'm extremely ticklish on my neck. The lump at the front of the neck is called the Adam's apple, and it's more prominent in some bodies than others. Fun fact, it's not actually an apple. Can you believe it? It's cartilage that covers the larynx or voice box, which is the top part of the throat that contains the vocal cords. The vocal cords are what you use to speak and sing. Head, shoulders, actually we're just sticking with head and shoulders for now. Do you have a version of head, shoulders, knees and toes in your own language? Does it include the same body parts? I would really like to know. Please put that in the comments section. Okay, so you've probably heard of the collarbone, but did you know its fancy name is the clavicle? Clavicle, that's a lovely word. And it's actually one of the most commonly broken bones in the body. Ouch. Now, a big muscle runs from the back of the head, down the neck, and across the shoulders. And that's the trapezius muscle, but most people just call it the traps. And at the back, there are two large flat bones called the shoulder blades, or scapulae, if we're being very fancy. And it's time for another party trick. I have really weird control over my shoulder bones. Why am I doing this? I can make them dance. All right, after that, it's time for a quick break. Let's see how much you've learnt so far with a little quiz. And don't worry, it's just for fun. I will read each question and then the answer, and you'll have 3 seconds to answer, but feel free to use the pause button if you need more time. All right, number 1. What is the name of the coloured part of the eye? Pupil, iris, or sclera? It is iris. It's your iris. What's this little groove called between your nose and your upper lip? Is it your philtrum, Cupid's bow, or uvula? It is your philtrum. And number 3, which of these is not found in the mouth? We have palate, we have gums, and we have nape. It is nape. That's on your neck. Number 4, what's another name for your collarbone? Scapula, clavicle, or larynx? It's clavicle. Clavicle, such a cute word. And 5, what's the name of the part that covers the larynx? Is it Adam's apple, crown, or temple? It's your Adam's apple. How did you do? Make sure you keep a note of your score out of 5, as we're going to have another quiz at the end, and I want to know your total score out of 10. Okay, let's continue our journey through the human body as we move down to the torso. And this is the body's central part, minus the head, arms, and legs. Put your hand on the center of your chest. Can you feel that long, flat bone? That is your sternum. Sternum, and it's like a shield for your heart and lungs. Just below that is an area called the solar plexus. The solar plexus. It's a network of nerves and it's super sensitive. Okay, now slide your hands down to your sides. These muscles here are called the obliques. Obliques, and they're what can help you twist and bend from side to side. And right in the center of the belly is the navel. The navel, also known as the belly button. This is where your umbilical cord was attached. Did you know that the way your belly button or navel looks is basically just random? It's determined by how your umbilical cord heals after you're born. It can be an innie or an outie, or a in-betweenie as well. Okay, let's not forget the rib cage. People usually have 12 pairs of ribs, and they're not just there to protect your organs. The muscles attached to the ribs expand and contract, helping us to breathe. The bottom 2 pairs are called floating ribs, because they're not attached to your sternum. Okay, we'll flip around to the back. We've already gone over the shoulder blades, as I'm sure you will never forget, the scapulae. However, running right down the middle of your back is the spine, or sometimes called your backbone. It's not just one long bone though, it's usually made up of 33 individual bones called vertebrae, or vertebrae too, although some of these usually fuse together, leaving more of us with only 24. The spine is divided into different regions. We have the cervical or cervical spine is in your neck. The thoracic or thoracic spine is in your upper back. The lumbar spine is in your lower back. And the sacrum or sacrum is at the bottom of your spine. Finally, the coccyx. Coccyx, that's a lot of consonant sounds there. Coccyx or tailbone is at the bottom. Another fun fact, we're born with around 300 bones, but as we grow, some of them fuse together. And by the time we're adults, we only have around 206. Okay, next, the reproductive system. So people generally have either ovaries, which produce eggs and hormones, a uterus, which is where a fetus develops during pregnancy, fallopian tubes, which eggs pass along from the ovaries to reach the uterus, a cervix, a narrow opening at the lower end of the uterus, a vagina, which is a passage that connects the cervix and the outside of the body, and a vulva, which are the outer parts of the sex organs. So these are typically found in female bodies, but not always. Or people tend to have, among other things, these body parts typically found in male bodies, but not always. We have testicles which produce sperm and testosterone, a scrotum, which holds and protects the testicles, and a penis, which is the external male sex organ. Now note that some people will have both of these. Some people will have none of these. It's not a clear divide. I'm simply happy to equip you with the vocabulary. Okay, time for arms and hands. We have the biceps, which are at the top of your upper arm, and they are the muscles that move when you flex. At the back, we have the triceps here, and as we move down further, we have the forearm. At the end of that is the wrist, which is really flexible thanks to the small bones in there called the carpals. Then we've got the hand with the inner flat part called the palm. We don't tend to pronounce the L there, just palm. The bendy joints on each finger are called knuckles. The K is silent. Let's zoom in on the fingers. At the end of each finger, we have a fingertip, and they're generally super sensitive, great for touching and feeling things. The fingernail grows from the nail bed, and around the edges, we have the cuticle keeping the nail in place. Mine are not naturally pink. I may have had some assistance with these. Okay, let's tackle the legs and feet. At the front of the thigh, which is the top part of the leg, just above the knee, there are a group of 4 muscles called the quadriceps. Sometimes we shorten it to quads. If we head down further, we find the knee, which is pretty dang complex. Behind the knee, we have the hamstring, and the hamstring is made up of the muscles and tendons which run along the back of the leg. Tendons are the tissues that join muscles to bones. We have the kneecap or patella. That's the round bone at the front of your knee. And did you know that there's also a little fluid-filled sac called a bursa? Bursa that helps your knee move smoothly. You can find bursas next to lots of large joints like the shoulders and the hips. Moving down to the lower leg, we have the calf at the back. That's the same as the word we use for a baby cow, a calf. It's the bulgy muscle that helps people stand on tiptoes. At the front, there is the shin, and the bone there is called the tibia. That's the one that's really painful to knock on a coffee table. And the tibia is the second largest bone in your body after your femur. femur, which is your thigh bone. At the back of the ankle, you have your Achilles tendon. Achilles tendon, and it was named after the Greek hero who was invulnerable everywhere except his heel. It's the strongest tendon in your body, but it's also one of the most commonly injured. Now for your feet. The heel is the bone at the back of the foot, and it's called the calcaneus. Calcaneus. It's the largest bone in the foot, and it takes a lot of impact when walking or running. The bottom of the foot is called the sole, and there's an arch in the middle that helps with balance. The ball of the foot is that padded round part just behind the toes. It helps distribute weight when standing on tiptoes. And speaking of toes, did you know that the scientific name for the big toe is the hallux? The hallux. And the rest of them? Well, the smallest one is called the pinky toe. The pinky toe, and that's not its scientific name, but everyone will know what you mean. Before we wrap up, let's talk about some features of skin and hair. You've probably heard of pores. They're the tiny openings typically found here for me. They can sometimes get clogged. But did you know about sebaceous glands? Sebaceous glands. They're the little glands in the skin that produce oil or sebum. Sebum. And what about the brown spots that some people have on their skin? If it's flat, it's called a freckle. I have one very persistent freckle here. If it's raised, it's called a mole. A mole. Both are caused by clusters of pigment-producing cells in your skin, which are what give your skin colour. Some people also have birthmarks. Birthmarks, which are just coloured marks on a person's skin that they've normally had since birth. As for hair, each strand grows from a follicle. Follicle. Did you know that a cowlick is a piece of hair that sticks out and grows in a different direction from the rest of your hair? I have one right here. It will never lie flat. It's caused by a spiral pattern in the growth of hair follicles. You can blame your genes for it or just embrace it. It's extra volume. All right, we've covered a lot. Let's see how much you remember with one last quiz. What do we call the bendy parts of the fingers? Are they cuticles, knuckles, or the hallux? They are knuckles. Okay, the bottom of the foot is called the heel, arch, or sole. It is the sole of your foot, spelt differently to your soul as a person, the sole of your foot, S-O-L-E. Number 3, what's the name of the coloured spots some people have on their skin? We're talking about the flat ones here. We have freckles, follicles, pores. Freckles. Number 4, what is the largest bone in the body? Is it the femur, the tibia, or the calcaneus? It's the femur. And the last one, what is the scientific name for the big toe? Is it the phalanx, the hallux, or the tibia? It is the hallux. Amazing work. How many did you get out of 5? Put it together with your last score and tell me your score out of 10 in the comment section below. Well, what a journey we've been on today. We've covered so much from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. But it's important to remember that knowing about these terms isn't just about sounding smart, although that's a really nice bonus. It can be incredibly useful if you need to describe a health issue to a doctor or discuss fitness with a personal trainer or someone in the gym. Plus, it gives you a whole new appreciation for how complex and fascinating our bodies really are. Oh my word, give yourself a pat on the back. Over 600 words and phrases. That is a massive boost to your vocabulary. Well done for investing the time and energy into deepening your vocabulary knowledge. Don't forget to download the epic ebook to review and assimilate the new words and phrases. And I'm pretty sure that after learning so many new words, you will be curious to know your vocabulary level. If that's the case, don't forget to try my free English vocabulary level test. It's quick and it shows the level you might want to start working towards. The link is in the description box. Right, lovely students, it's been a pleasure as always. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope you learned something. I would be surprised if you didn't. I will see you in the next lesson. Mwah.